To most, driving is just a mundane task between point A and point B. Nothing more. It's the frustration of traffic at 8 a.m. The feeling of sickness on a long ride. The car? Just a tool. It's supposed to be practical, reliable, and fast. But the speed is really the reason cars exist. Born out of a necessity to make that A to B trip just a little bit faster. Some have a deeper connection with cars. Found somewhere in the bond of man and machine, a desire to be part of something bigger than yourself. It's the extension of mind and body to something more exciting than just another appliance. And these people never cared about practicality or reliability. To them, the only thing that matters is speed. We're born with a competitive nature, part of a biological necessity that is not yet worn off with time. People have raced for thousands of years, and that competition has transcended history and found its way to the industrial age. Railroads raced to build across the country, replacing the horses whose strength is still used as a benchmark for power today. And as personal vehicles became popular, the railroads died off. What once was the quickest way across the country became snail's pace in comparison. The interstate highway system expanded and cars populated every driveway. And the competition between types of transport quickly transitioned into the race to have the fastest car. Bragging rights. Manufacturers like Porsche, Ferrari, and BMW emerged in auto racing, each trying to one-up the other. Building engines became an arms race. Who could build the fastest dinosaur-powered Lands? So while the passion for cars has died for most, there are still people that are fascinated by racing. The sights, the sounds, the smell of burning rubber and spent race fuel lingering in the air, this is what attracts us to the sport of auto racing. We are empowered by drivers that climb in impossibly fast cars and put everything on the line for the sake of competition. Drivers who know that one slip-up can lead to disaster. And for the longest time, wishing to be a race car driver was just a childhood dream. All we could ever be was a spectator. Opportunities? Limited and expensive. Reserved only for the who's who of the racing world. Until now.
Makes a mistake again. He missed the shift. He's going to spin to the inside turn. He's going to take the lead.
Eli Hinton just got used up there in the hairpin.
He's going to pick up a win after a long winless streak and visit victory lane. And the whole field just needs to get himself slowed down, hop these curves, up and over. There's that cannon running attack. Great restart here for the 2 car, but also for the 48. He crosses him over, down into turn 1, there nose to tail. Here comes the 20 alongside. The 13 car gets turned. He's going to spin in turn 2.
For most people vacationing in California, their ideal vacation is taking a trip to wine country. But tonight, the SPEC MX-5 SimRacing Challenge heads to round number 5 in Sears Point at Sonoma Raceway. And it's time to go racing, and it's been a fantastic season so far. We've had 4 rounds at Summit Point, VIR, Circuit of the Americas, and Laguna Seca. But tonight we head to the twists and turns of the 2.5-mile Sonoma Raceway for round number 5. And this racetrack is tight, it's technical, it's fast, and we have 20 drivers going tonight in their continued quest to make it to the end of the season and gather themselves a real-world experience to drive a SPEC MX-5 race car at Circuit of the Americas, get a track day with full team support, or a couple of other different prizes that have been offered by our wonderful sponsors. You can find out all that information in the description, as well as the schedule for the rest of the season. But welcome to Sim TV on the Winding Road Magazine channel, and I'm joined by Jarrett Mackey here tonight. Jarrett, Sonoma Raceway is a fantastic racetrack, but lots of elevation change here, very much like Laguna Seca, where we were a couple weeks ago. We saw a lot of clean racing there. Expectations for tonight?
I think we'll see another really clean race tonight. Like you said, it's a very technical track. It's a very fast track, but it's also a very fun track. And with the smaller field size tonight, I really think we see a lot of clean racing.
A lot of clean racing. You mentioned the fun factor here. I drove this track in practice earlier today just to kind of get a feel of how these the NC Miata drives around here, and it is an absolute blast. These cars skip and jump over curbs like it's nothing. They can take up a lot of abuse and also some bump drafting on the back straightaway here, the drag strip portion of the racetrack. But before we get into the rest of qualifying as these guys lay down lap times, let's take a quick look at our track guide for tonight's race. Sonoma Raceway is a 2.52-mile road course located on a landform known as Sears Point in Sonoma, California. It's hosted NASCAR, IndyCar, Grand Am, the SCCA, and other major racing series. Tonight, it hosts the 2019 SPEC MX-5 SimRacing Challenge as we head into round 5, nearing the halfway point of the season. Turn 1 is a full-throttle left-hander snaking its way between two concrete barriers. Then, drivers will climb several stories worth of elevation before arriving at Turn 2, a right-hander. This corner will most likely be taken in third gear, with some drivers possibly selecting second while in traffic. Then, the cars will snake downhill towards Turn 3. This is the hilliest section on the course, which features over 160 feet of elevation change. After a blind crest in Turn 3, cars head down a short hill towards Turn 4, a sharp right-hander leading into the infield area. The famous carousel follows, which is a long multi-apex left-hander that drops down a few dozen feet before joining the drag strip straightaway. Cars will accelerate all the way into fifth gear before drivers will have to pounce on the brakes for the first passing zone and the hardest braking zone of the course, leading into turn number 7. The curbs are tall here and have the potential to roll the car over or cause suspension damage. The next few corners lead through the fast S's section, quick left and right combinations over a hill before arriving at Turn 10. Turn 10 is a fifth gear right-hander that challenges drivers to apex late and climb the inside curb to carry as much speed as possible without getting loose. This run down into the hairpin at Turn 11 is one of the best passing opportunities on course. The acceleration zone to Turn 12 in the front straight is where we will see our start take place tonight. And that is a lap of Sonoma Raceway. Welcome back live here on Sim TV on the Winding Road Magazine channel. Thanks for joining us again for round number 5 of the 2019 SPEC MX-5 SimRacing Challenge. Well, Jarrett, you and I were out at Grid Life Midwest this past weekend out in South Haven, Michigan at Gingerman Raceway, and a couple of drivers that are here tonight were there competing in Grid Life. One of those drivers, DJ Alessandrini, the number 91 car, he's currently third in qualifying. He makes his way down into turn number 11. Now, DJ, last round, finished third in both rounds, or both races at Laguna Seca. He's qualified third there tonight as well. What does he need to do to overcome that third place deficit? He's leading the points by 20 points. Does he need to win, or is he fine just getting top 5s until the end of the season?
Well, the last race of the season is winner take all. And as we started this conversation, DJ has leapfrogged second and first place, and now he's the fastest guy out there in qualifying. But honestly, if he's doing so well in the points, why does he need to win, you know? I think we'll see another really strong performance from him tonight, as proven by his qualifying time right now. And I wouldn't be surprised if he won one of the races.
Yeah, I think he's been really strong. And even at Laguna Seca, he didn't have a lot of practice heading into that event, and still did pretty well regardless. Another driver we're keeping an eye on is Robert Hartley in the 03. There he is entering turn 4 right now. One of the drivers that has qualified really well a lot of times this season, but only has himself a handful of victories when compared to the other drivers like DJ Alessandrini. So Hartley looking to have a better night tonight, sitting very high up the point standings. Let's take a look at the points right now as we head into tonight's event. Of course, it's DJ Alessandrini on the top of the board, then it's Robert Hartley 23 back. Jesse Stevens right behind him. Jonathan DeCouger up a spot at Laguna Seca last week into 4th. 5th place, Nathan Saxon. 6th, Matt Busa. Busa will not be here tonight. He had obligations to fulfill for his team, Williams Esports, at Montreal, heading down there for the Formula One weekend. Paul Darling and Christopher Potter, a couple other drivers in that top 10, but very competitive within that top 10. As we look, there's Nathan Saxon heading up to turn 1 right now, the number 41. He's been good enough to win a bunch of races this season, but hasn't found himself in victory lane nearly as much as he wants. But Paul Darling, we mentioned him, sitting about 6th or 7th in the points, qualified 4th right now, and Chris Henn probably should have won a race at Laguna Seca last round, but didn't. Blew an engine down in turn number 11, looking for redemption tonight. He's qualified 3rd as DJ Alessandrini jumps to the top of the board in that number 91.
You mentioned DeCouja, they're high up in the point standings. Having a little bit of a tough time right now in qualifying. He sits 13th, kind of in the middle of the pack towards the back end of it, so he'll look to rebound. He's sitting in pit road right now, not really trying to better his time, but we'll see. You know, they still got, 5 minutes left in this session, so we'll see if he goes out there to make another crack at it.
Again, let's take another look at your, really the situation tonight, what we're going to be doing out here. The format for the evening, of course, race 1 starts here in just a couple minutes. It's a 20-minute sprint race with a 15x incident limit and 2 championship point deductions for exceeding those 15 incidents. I don't think we're going to see that be a factor tonight. Race 2 at about 9:35 p.m. That's a 30-minute sprint race, a 17 incident limit, and still that same 2 championship point deduction for exceeding that incident limit. Again, I don't expect that to be a factor this evening, but that's your format for this evening, as it has been all season. We want to give our sponsors a special shout-out, WeatherTech High Performance Sim Racing Equipment. They've come on board offering per-race prizes for the top 3, as well as helping out with the season-end prizes. LevelUp Racing School, another one of those season-end prize givers. That's all this information that you can, if you want to check out all the products and the services that these places offer, check it out in the description, because we would not be here providing you this awesome entertainment on a Wednesday night if they weren't here. We also have to thank Paradigm Shift Racing, based in Atlanta, Georgia. They're a driver development company that's moving away from traditional driving instruction and aims to bring racers a more up-to-date approach. In their best-selling Science of Speed book series, Paradigm Shift's teaching philosophy is described as a physics-based approach to finding the ideal racing line that has been distilled into an optimal but intuitive way of driving a race car. On their website, you can find detailed track notes for many well-known tracks in North America and Europe, and of course, that link, as always with everything else, is in the video description, along with credits and other applicable doodads and whatnot, Jarrett. So, got a lot of information down there. That is about a 5-paragraph description. I've spent a lot of time working on that, so please do check it out. Open it up in a different tab and check out everything that is there. I heard a motor explode on somebody's car. And that's one thing we have to worry about, Jarrett, is downshifting too early. And you know all this all too well with manual transmission cars. Engine braking helps you slow down, but if you do it too quickly and you rev up that engine too high, you can blow out your motor.
We did see a lot of that at Laguna Seca, more so in race 1, I think, than we did in race 2, and it happened to some of the guys who were really up close to the front of the field, so they look to avoid that tonight.
Dakota Dickerson, one of the pro drivers in this field, a real-world race car driver competing in this event. He's currently running 9th in this number 43. Has not had a great season. He's not eligible for the season-end prize, but just in here for fun. He's the only pro in this race tonight. We've had in the past 3 or 4 pros, but this evening he's the only one. Luke Pfeiffer in the 06. I didn't think he was going to be able to make it tonight, but he did in that number 06 car. So he's out on track. Steve Ficacci, the number 51, another Scars carryover from the first league that we ever broadcasted way back last year in February of 2018. He's sitting 11th right now. Zanoa Wilson, relatively new entry to this series. He's sitting 12th. Thomas Bresci, and the number 24, out here running 13th at the moment.
An update on Jonathan DeCouja. He is sitting in pit road for the final minute and a half of this session, so it looks like he will settle, maybe not settle, but he will start towards the back of the pack in tonight's race.
Interesting to note that there, Jared. Thank you. And we want to thank John D. Allen for providing the setups for these cars to run. And I can tell you from experience after driving these setups that they're a blast. This car is so much fun to drive. And thanks to John D. Allen for helping and providing these setups, as well as providing lots of the help setting up this series and getting it rolling this season. And of course, Dave Fitzgerald for putting it all on and getting this all put through. And of course, Winding Road for allowing us use of their YouTube channel. We appreciate their trust in us to take this to you every Wednesday night, once a month, for the SPEC MX-5 Sim Racing Challenge. And again, we want to stress that any opinions or any comments that we make are not reflective of Winding Road. There are Sim TV's opinions only. And of course, you want to check out our Sim Racing broadcasting channel. You can find that over on youtube.com/SimTV Broadcasting for Sim Racing all day, every day, all the time. So lots of cool stuff over there. And Jarrett, one of the coolest experiences of my life was going to Grid Life last week and commentating for real at Grid Life Midwest. And I know you had a blast too, driving around the racetrack in an MX-5, and the handling characteristics very similar between these cars and the ones that you were in on Saturday.
Yeah, before I talk about that, I would like to mention two things. One, Robert Hartley has taken the lead here in qualifying by more than a tenth of a second over DJ Alessandrini. And speaking again on DJ Alessandrini, he allowed me to use his helmet to go for a ride in the SPEC Miata car. So I want to give a big shout out to DJ Alessandrini. These cars, Miatas, no matter what generation, are so much fun to run racetracks. Everyone loves racing them. That's why SCCA has a series. That's why NASA has a Miata series. Everyone loves racing Miatas because they're such a blast to drive on a track. And that's proven every time we see these guys go out and compete in this challenge.
Absolutely. So DJ, I actually talked with DJ on Sunday about Robert Hartley specifically, and he made mention that Robert Hartley qualifies really, really well, but he races well too, but not as quick as he hot laps. So Hartley's qualifying effort, very, very strong. We'll see if he can hang on to it. Qualifying, checkered flag has flown, but we're just waiting for everyone to come on through. And Jesse Stevens with a flyer of a lap of 147.677, 3.5 tenths faster than Robert Hartley. He puts himself on pole.
DJ is out there. I don't know if this lap will count, but he's coming around to the end of the track, and the clouds seem to be all over the track, so maybe the track's a little bit cooler and allowed Jesse Stevens to run as fast of a lap time as he did.
Actually, you're quite right about that, Jared. Track temp has fallen about almost 15 degrees since the start of the session. It's 82 degrees. We started at about 96, so it's come down quite a bit, and DJ Alessandrini comes out of turn number 11 into turn 12. See the clouds over the racetrack, and we come across the line, and checkered flag for the 91. Does he improve a 147.893? It's going to be good enough for second, I believe. There he goes. Nope. Third, because Hartley goes even quicker. A 147.671 by 6 thousandths of a second. Hartley gets the pole. Wow.
Doesn't get much closer than that in qualifying.
So I'm going to clarify a comment I made a minute ago about racing once a month. It's roughly once a month. We started this back in, what month did we start in? About 3 months ago, I believe. But we roughly have one round a month. You can check out the schedule. That's also in the description. There is going to be a change, we presume, within the next couple weeks as we move the next round at Mid-Ohio up a week from the 3rd of July to the 26th of June to accommodate everyone's families going out on July 4th. So that's the only change that we could foresee. But again, the schedule is available in the description if you're interested in seeing where we're going to head next. So that will be Mid-Ohio, which is the next round, which is a very different racetrack than Sonoma, and a very unique racetrack all on its own. But again, the two Californian racetracks, WeatherTech Raceway, I knew I was going to make that mistake again. WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna, Seca, and Sonoma Raceway, both back-to-back rounds in California. And qualifying complete here, and it's Robert Hartley on the pole in front of Jesse Stevens and DJ Alessandrini. Michael Borden inside the top 5 as well. Great result for him in qualifying.
Yeah, Jesse Stevens with his flyer, we thought really was going to be the pole. And then we looked up in the sky and realized the track's a lot faster right now. So it allowed Robert Hartley to take the pole position by only 6 1/1000ths of a second. Really close qualifying efforts.
A spectacular qualifying round there. A couple of drivers knocking each other off the top of the board. Very much like Formula One's rounds. So that was very entertaining for sure. But again, let's reiterate the format for tonight. First race, which is happening right now, 20-minute sprint race. Then race 2 coming up in just under an hour. That is going to be a 30-minute sprint race. So short races in a relatively small field, only 20 cars tonight. So what that means is that you don't have a lot of time to get yourself to the front, but I think some drivers are probably looking at this and being a little bit happy that the field size is down, because if you start 20th tonight, you got a lot less cars to pass than you did at the beginning of the season. So I think if you didn't have a great qualifying effort, you're pretty thankful a couple drivers didn't show this evening.
It also, not more often than not means we'll have a cleaner race. Less cars to be out there, cause trouble, less people to make wild decisions and daring drives into corners. So we'll see if that really plays true tonight.
Absolutely. So let's take another look at our conditions for the race. 74 degrees in the air, 91 on the track. It's risen a couple since those clouds have cleared away. Wind 7 miles an hour. Sky mostly cloudy, which is interesting conditions compared to what we've been racing in. We've been racing in really, really hot temperatures lately. And so we could see some cooler days ahead here. And look at that, 10 rows of Mazda MX-5s lined up. That is a beautiful sight here at the Sonoma Raceway for round number 5 of the 2019 SPEC MX-5 SimRacing Challenge. Let me remind you what we're racing for here tonight. The end of the season, the champion will get to have an opportunity to basically kickstart their real-world racing career thanks to Winding Road, WeatherTech, LevelUp Racing School, and Paradigm Shift, and all these companies have come on board to basically give someone an opportunity to go from the sim racing realm to the real-world racing realm, all starting with a test at Circuit of the Americas at the end of the year. So Pace Lap begins. And there's a lot on the line here, but for a guy like DJ Alessandrini, you mentioned it, Jarrett, you don't need to throw your championship away. Just have a good night tonight. You don't need to win, but I don't think that's going to keep the 91 of DJ Alessandrini from trying to be competitive.
No, and what you just said was really echoed at Laguna Seca. Like you said, finished third twice, and that's really all he needed to do. It's a really solid points day, really good points day, and he starts, third here again tonight. So looking to build on those two solid performances with another one.
Of course, we're missing Finian Dacuna tonight. He's out away doing other things this evening, so unfortunately Finian's not with us. But again, my name is Kyle Heyer alongside Jarrett Mackey, and you can find our channel over on www.youtube.com/SimTV Broadcasting for more of this kind of stuff. Not with this kind of, not with these prizes on the line, but still some great racing available there as well. So field rolls their way through the pace lap down into the carousel. A very famous corner here, Jarrett. Downhill corner, multi-apex. There's curbing late on corner exit, but you can also find a lot of drivers running wide on corner exit. It's very wide out there, but you're going to be basically scrubbing off a lot of speed trying to keep yourself on here. So some drivers will run out wide, try to get a little bit of an advantage over their competitors by using that curbing on corner exit.
Not as wild of a corner as we saw last time with the corkscrew at Laguna Seca, but it's a really fun corner, and like you said, it's super wide on exit, so a lot of room for anything to happen there, really.
And field working their way down into turn number 7, which is the first of what I would call really 2 ideal passing zones, turn 7 and then turn 11, and we're now head through the S's at Sonoma Raceway, a very fast winding sector, tall curbs, and the curbs here you're going to have to hook to get your car to turn. And you're going to see the quick guys just abusing those curbs left and right, bouncing these compliant SPEC MX-5 cars up and over to find the quickest way around. So Jesse Stevens in that number 13, he's on pole this evening. Or was it Robert Hartley that got the pole at the last? I think it was Hartley in that 0-3. So those last 2 guys, they were kind of duking it out at the very end, but the 0-3 got the advantage. And we're going to try to bunch everybody up onto the front straightaway because the green flag flies relatively late. So we're going to try to get the whole field here. This is kind of a question mark in the driver's meeting, is where is that green flag going to fly and how's it going to affect people coming through the hairpin? But 20 SPEC MX-5 challenge cars rolling through turn 11 and over to turn 12. 20 minutes of racing in round 5 begins in just a moment. Jesse Stevens and Robert Hartley lined up side by side, field bunched up, green flag flies, racing in wine country in Sonoma, California.
They look to get off to a relatively clean start. It is a straightaway, though. The real test will be going up into turn number 1.
Side by side, the 13 of Jesse Stevens on the outside lane, but he's going to have drivers right heading up the hill. If he can stay alongside Hartley, he'll have a great passing opportunity off into turn 2. He manages to keep the nose in there, but Hartley just manages to clear him on corner exit. Borden in the 42, trying to go 3 wide up the inside, but the 13 of Stevens crosses him back over. Contact there, the 13 goes for a spin in front of the field. And more cars spinning.
Bound to happen.
And that's Borden in the 42. He's around and got significant damage. The 67 of Mark Snodgrass also involved. So drama here in the opening sector of this race.
That looked like netcode to me. Chris Henn looked to get in the left rear quarter panel there of DJ Alessandrini. And I don't think they made contact, he and Jesse Stevens, but he got car sent around.
Yeah,
we'll see that on the replay.
Oh, yeah, the 13 just got hooked kind of by an invisible force there. Then the 42 comes back on track and clips that yellow machine there, and there's just a big stack up as they're all trying to scatter. Everyone did a pretty good job missing that, but the 42's still off track now. It's really struggling. He must have a lot of damage. But for the lead, Robert Hartley has it. DJ Alessandrini wants it. You see cars exiting turn 7, heading off into the S's. Some great battles midfield and beyond. The 21 of Mitchell Peak side by side with the 22 of Jonathan White up over the curbs. Whoa! Sideways contact between the two, and the 22 is all sorts of sideways, still sliding all over the side door of the 21.
I don't know how one of those cars didn't make it. They were both sideways in 2 consecutive corners.
Incredible action there, but the 22 is in trouble. I think he's got some damage. Either that or he lost it again. He's still sideways trying to hang on to that thing. I definitely think he's got some damage. What a shame for Jonathan White. Oh, no. And down into pit lane he goes. And an early end to his competitiveness here in race number 1. But you see the ticker scrolling along the top of your screen. Here's a battle Mitchell Peak, and there's a 24, Thomas Bressi. And Bressi started deeper in the field, but a lot of carnage on lap 1 has led to him gathering a couple spots here in lap number 2.
Speaking of the carnage again, the race stewards are reviewing the accident between the 91 car of DJ Alessandrini and the 13 car of Jesse Stevens that we saw in the first few corners.
Interesting to see if they'll make an action on that, but now you see Bressi getting around Mitchell Peak and Jack Sanchez in the 23. He's up the inside through turn 3A, up on 2 wheels over the curb. Here comes DeCousier in 12th, down to the inside into turn 4. Great action all around, but up front, it's still Robert Hartley by 0.4 of a second, but the action's midfield. Now there's the 84 of Zanoa Wilson following the side-by-side battle for 11th into the carousel.
Yeah, they're really using these curbs to the most that they can use them. Usually in a race car, you want to keep all 4 tires on the ground. Someone's got to tell these guys that.
Zanoa Wilson from Shawnee, Kansas, working his way on the back straightaway behind Jonathan DeCousier. DeCousier takes the defensive line into turn 7. Maybe the 84 will try to cross him over. Nope, couldn't quite get the nose in. Look at Sanchez running out way wide in turn 7, up over the curbs on exit, trying to run away from that 31. I see the top spot closing up, though. DJ Alessandrini is closed in on Robert Hartley. This is going to be a battle for the lead. Down into turn number 11 now. We're 2 laps into what will be about a 12-lap race. Hartley in shallow, and there's Chris Henn in the 33. Remember, he blew a motor at Laguna Seca last round, looking for redemption. He's really quick right now, closing in on Alessandrini and Hartley. Samuel Scott around in turn 11.
Yeah, these 3 guys kind of separated themselves from the rest of the pack. They will say the stewards, no action will be called on that first lap incident. No action.
Interesting there. We might have some action on this one, though. The 43. Dakota Dickerson down to the inside of the 98 and turns him around, and I think one could argue the 98 turned in on him, but we'll be curious to see how the stewards will rule on that situation. But Scott trying to regain some of these spots. There's Jack Sanchez on the inside. These guys fighting tooth and nail back here, but up at the top spot, Alessandrini all over Hartley for the lead.
Yeah, Chris Henn has an incredible view of the battle for the lead right now, as Alessandrini is right on the back bumper of Hartley and has been for this entire lap.
We might see a pass here in a moment. Alessandrini looking out wide. He's going to try to maybe make a late apex here, turn in a little bit later, and try to get the run on the back straight. Now the slipstream becomes the big factor here, Jarrett. We know these cars don't have a lot of power, so that slipstream becomes ultra effective.
Yeah, and DJ is going to want to use the slipstream to the best of his abilities here, and Hartley's going to have a hard time holding them off if he keeps doing that.
Chris Henn dove into turn number 7, almost got into the back of the 91 of Alessandrini, but these top 3 only separated by about 0.6 of a second, and look who's sitting right behind him, the 55 of Paul Darling. He's lurking in the background, maybe trying to close in on these guys as we continue to go back to watch Samuel Scott and Jesse Stevens. Both these cars have been around off the bumper of other drivers tonight, side by side through the S's.
The incident involving the 43 car of Dakota Dickerson and the 98 car of Samuel Scott is under review by race stewards.
All right, thank you, Jarrett. Appreciate that. And again, I think I expected that one after seeing that incident. Not really sure how they're going to rule it. To me, that's a racing incident. I think the 98 turned in on the nose of the 43, but we'll have to see how they rule that. There's Stevens now in front of the 98, and here comes Zanoa Wilson in the 84 to the inside of Sam Scott. Maybe he's going to dive up the inside. Late on the brakes, here comes the 84, and he gets there. Stevens misses the corner right in front of him.
Yeah, he got 2 spots there, almost got 2 spots there for the price of 1. There was a really great late braking there by Zanoa Wilson into the final corner.
Up for the top spot, though. The front 2 separated by literally a bumper. The 91 of Alessandrini putting lots of pressure on Hartley now as they climb turn 3 and head down to turn 4, hopping the curbs left and right. And Chris Henn also right behind Alessandrini. Again, for DJ, maybe this is too much risk for the reward that you get, but that Hartley machine, he's the guy that's second in the standings, and you want to build that gap the best you can.
Oh, certainly. That's what they will always look to do. And also, Dakota Dickerson has been black flagged for the incident with the 98 car of Samuel Scott.
Interesting. Okay, so a black flag for the 43 of Dickerson for contact down in turn number 11. Thank you very much, Jarrett. Side by side for the lead now, though. Alessandrini and Hartley, and Chris Henn right behind. Who does he choose to go with? It looks like he'll choose the 91 as Alessandrini goes to the top spot down in turn 7, but Hartley fights back on the inside.
This is a very, very intriguing battle from these front three. You put a blanket over them right now, and that's been said for the last 3 or 4 laps. They've been incredible to watch.
Alessandrini gets away now. Hartley has a lot of pressure from the 33 of Chris Henn. Now can that blue number 91 pull away from the field? He's been ridiculously quick all season, almost has a full race lead over that 03 of Hartley, but he'll continue to extend that if he can just last 13 more minutes in this top spot.
I would not put that out of reach for DJ as he goes off the track a little bit, but does not seem to be too affected by it.
Now he's really just exploring the track limits right now, trying to see what he can get. And he went a bit wide in turn 10. That's so easy to do because you're trying to carry a lot of speed. These cars have little to no downforce. So they're really tricky to turn at high speed. They're much more nimble at lower speed with all that mechanical grip that they have built into the chassis. But Hartley and Henn fighting for second now. And let's jump back to 10th place. That's Jack Sanchez and Mitchell Peak. There's Dakota Dickerson serving a penalty for that contact last lap. And Peak and Sanchez fighting for 9th place.
Side by side at the start-finish line that time as they head up the hill. Looks like Peak will have the advantage.
Ooh, he slips right in front of the 23. Great pass there for the 21 of Peak. Oh, contact from the 23. Sanchez lays the bumper to him.
Thought he was going to go down there for a second, but Mitchell Peak did a great job holding on to that car, even with his back bumper being tapped the way it was by the 23 car of Jack Sanchez.
Sanchez from Portland, Oregon, has experience in autocross and solo race car driving, and right now behind Mitchell Peak as they climb down the hill towards turns 4 and 5. And that battle has fizzled for now.
You know, so much talk about the front three of Alessandrini, Hartley, and Henn. Paul Darling's sitting right there in an interesting spot. He's watching this whole battle unfold, and he's actually been gaining on that front three little by little each lap.
Yeah, last time through, he was actually the quickest car of the front 4. Although Nathan Saxon, who's in the number 41 in 5th, that silver car right behind, he was actually the quickest car on track the last time through. So don't count him out either. These top 3 could very easily get into each other. Alessandrini seems like he's slower in the middle sector, but pulls away in the final sector of the racetrack. And look at the, oh, Alessandrini cuts the track big down in turn 10. I'm surprised if that doesn't give him a slowdown. He had almost 4 wheels off the inside of the curb. Again, trying to find pace, but that might have been a bit too much. It looks like he got away with that one, but Robert Hartley putting the pressure back on. Let's take a quick look at turn number 10 for the 91 of DJ Alessandrino right on board. You'll see what I'm talking about. He just turns in a bit too early, maybe gets the back end a bit sideways. Wow, that was about as close to cutting the track as you can get.
That was really close. I was surprised, like you said, he did not have a slowdown indicator for that.
These front 3 have not really separated out. There's still only about 0.6 of a second between them as they climb the hill. And Chris Henn is just so close to getting himself a victory. Probably thought he had the best opportunity at Laguna Seca, but as we have very well documented, blew the motor downshifting too early and had not been able to find his way into victory lane since then. So trying to look for some redemption tonight and hoping Hartley can take the battle back to DJ Alessandrini and slow him down.
I'm sure he hasn't forgotten about that one. I'm sure they'll stay with him for a while if he does not manage to get to victory lane here after that.
Onto the back straightaway again. That slipstream going to bring in the 03 and 33 right back into the picture. And down on the brakes, Hartley looks to the inside to try to throw off the 91 of Alessandrini. He might have done it as he's right back to the inside quarter panel, but the 91 stays clear.
Tell you what, Hartley will be in a great position there to kind of under-brake the final hairpin and try to get on the inside of DJ Alessandrini. So we expect kind of a defensive corner there if that has to happen for DJ.
About 6 laps into this 11-lap event, about halfway through, essentially, as the cloud cover comes over the racetrack. That's going to bring down the temperatures, Jarrett. When we see colder temperatures, we see higher grip, and that means drivers might get a little bit braver on the brakes.
Under the cool temperatures in qualifying, Robert Hartley was faster than DJ Alessandrini, so we'll see if that plays into his hands a little bit.
Well, it already seems like it's affecting the handling on that 91. Hartley's closed right back up. He's only about a car length behind as they complete lap number 6.
I really thought Hartley was going to hang it there and they'd be side by side across the start-finish line, but DJ was able to pull away on corner exit.
Climbing the hill now down into 4th gear, and then into 3rd, into corner number 2, the right-hander. See on the track map here as they go down the hill towards turn 3 and 4. Alessandrini off track a little bit with the right rear tire, and that kind of threw his rhythm off, but he still got through the section pretty well. Then riding on board, Chris
I thought
Henn.
he was going to put way more off than that than he actually was.
Chris Henn from Coram, New York. Has experience running time trials and HPDE events, and he's lost a little bit of ground on this lap. Wow, you see Hartley also off track with the right side tires. These guys will use every inch of track, and then they're going to run their tires off track to make even more racetrack. They want as much ground as they can possibly get. Look at that, they're still dragging wheels off course. This track is about 100 feet wide there, and they're still using even more than they give them.
Yeah, 100 feet wide and very narrow cars, and yet they're still putting tires off. But that's what they'll do to be fast, and it's working out for Alessandrini and Hartley there.
Well, it's all about how much can you get before they'll start penalizing you, and the penalties for course cutting done automatically, so it's pretty much black or white if you cut or if you don't cut, and so far it has not deemed any of these front three doing anything wrong, but Alessandrini continues to lead this race. Let's jump back to the battle for 10th. Jack Sanchez, and actually that's Sanchez and Zenoa Wilson in the 84, and Wilson gets around for 10th. And there's Jesse Stevens.
And Jesse Stevens there, yeah, right there behind them in a damaged race car.
Yeah, he started off his night turned around in the first couple corners and hasn't been able to rebound, and this is so much like Laguna Seca, where his race got kind of thrown away on that opening lap with contact from Thomas Bresci in race number 2, I believe. And now they're side by side.
He was really fast.
Oh, he was. Oh, no!
Oh, my God, goodness.
Contact with the 84. Zenoa Wilson gets punted off course. I don't know if that was contact there with Jack Sanchez, but let's take a quick look at the replay. And I think...
Incredible save by Zenoa Wilson, because they were very close to putting it into the tire barrier there in the hairpin.
Here's a look at it. Oh, wow. Jack Sanchez way late on the brakes and drills the back of the 84. And now look at Jesse Stevens all over Jack Sanchez and trying to get alongside, and he does through turn 3. Oh, the 23 up and over the curb, and Jesse Stevens gets the spot. The 23 big course cut there. That'll be a slowdown. And going to try to maybe hold up the 84, but he's going to have to give up some time. He cut that track big time there.
Yeah, he had almost all 4 of them in the sand there, and that was worrying for Jesse Stevens for a second.
Side by side for the lead, and Robert Hartley gets around the outside in turn number 7. A power move by Robert Hartley, but Alessandrini fights back side by side through a sector that you can really only go single file through. Alessandrini not willing to give up just yet, and there he does. Now Robert Hartley back to the top spot.
Incredible racing. Right after the lead, Robert Hartley was hopping over those curbs, and I really thought he was going to get loose, and Alessandrini would have a hole, but we'll see what happens here in the final corner of the track.
Ooh, he took a look into turn 10. Hartley all sorts of sideways, trying to pedal that car down into turn number 11. Will Alessandrini take a look? Is he going to stay behind? Down into turn 11, they knock the cones off from pit entry. Coming back to what will be about 3 laps to go, 5 minutes left in this race.
Paul Darling has kind of stayed where he's been all race with this gap to the front 3, and Chris Henn has just been stuck in the front 2 of Alessandrini and Hartley this entire time.
I think they're just waiting for these two to get together, and with how they were racing about midway through the last lap, I could see that becoming a reality. Henn drives up into turn 2, misses the apex just a little bit, but now Alessandrini gets right back to the bumper of Hartley.
We talked about it, the track cooled down a bit, and Hartley seemed a lot faster than Alessandrini, but Alessandrini's hanging tough here on the back bumper of Robert Hartley.
Off into turn 4 now. Top 3 get great apexes through here. These guys are so evenly matched. I think we'll see a lot of the same in race number 2 here coming up shortly, but we're not done with race 1 just yet. Lap number 9 of approximately 11 laps, 4 minutes and 37 seconds remaining. Alessandrini low and slow through the middle of the carousel, trying to get a run on Hartley. He's going to have a slipstream here onto the back straight.
He will use the slipstream to his advantage, and Hartley is driving this car like an absolute madman right now, but it's working out for him as he has the lead.
Did he overdrive, though? He sent it in really deep. Alessandrini jumped on the brakes early, trying to fake out the 03. Wasn't able to do it, and Hartley expertly defends from that move, and he'll retain the lead for now.
Probably the biggest lead Hartley or Alessandrini have had over one another for a while, as Hartley had about a 3-4 car length advantage there for the first time this race.
He gained it all on corner exit as Alessandrini took a look. He faked him to the inside, and Hartley didn't take the bait.
And that just shows how close this race has been between the front 2, even the front 3 so far here at Sonoma.
Oh, Chris Henn dirt tracking it off in turn number 10, dragging the sand off with him. Alessandrini trying to line him up 2 laps to go, approximately 3 minutes and 35 seconds remaining in this race. It's the top 2, Robert Hartley and DJ Alessandrini. They've had a rivalry that goes back the first 4 events. They're the top 2 in the championship, just reversed the other way, and Hartley trying to prove that he's going to be a force heading into the last race here in a couple months.
This is the furthest back Chris Henn has been from these front two cars all race. It looks like Alessandrini and Hartley are looking to check out there and make it a race between themselves for the win here.
I think that's what Alessandrini wants. He wants to take a look at this 0-3 without the 33 sticking his nose into the fight. So they jump the curbs in turn 3, then head down to turn 4. The 91 all over the 0-3 as they enter the braking zone. And Alessandrini's just trying to line him up. It's just a matter of time. You don't want to make this pass too soon. It's almost like racing at a restrictor plate race with a stock car. You don't want to make your move too soon because then that gives the guy really a chance to get back at you. So maybe DJ will wait to the last lap. Patient on the
Situations like this also speak volumes about the mental aspect of these drivers, you know, not cracking under pressure and being able to go and perform in really clutch situations to try to get win.
Absolutely. DJ takes a look into turn 7, but again tries to fake out Hartley, and Hartley again doesn't take the bait. Now through the S's for the second to final time. When we come back, it will be white flag, 1 to go. Through the S's now.
And Alessandrini is stalking the back bumper of Robert Hartley. This will be an incredible final lap.
Jumping the curbs. It's all about setting up this car. He's off track. He's way off track in the dirt. Slipping, sliding through the gravel as he sets himself up to try to take down Robert Hartley. Through turn 10 now.
He didn't lose as much time as I thought he would. He was off track for 2 or 3 seconds there, and he's still in the back bumper of Robert Hartley.
Treating those incidents like a resource. He's got a bunch left. Coming back, the white flag is waving one more time around Sonoma Raceway, and DJ Alessandrini has made it exciting, but he's got 2.5 miles left to make a show out of this race.
And I would not put it past him. It's been an incredible show so far here in race 1, and Robert Hartley is probably in the front seat of this, and he looks like he's been able to be the fastest one around this track since the track has cooled off.
Through the dirt again. They're both dragging those right side wheels off to try to gain purchase, but they climb the hill towards turn 3. Robert Hartley has stretched out the gap to 0.2 of a second, but that's all going to go away on the back straightaway. Alessandrini will be able to close into his rear bumper, and he'll have one more look into turn 7 and one more look into turn 11. 2 passing zones that he has to take a look to the inside of the 0-3. I wonder which one he'll take, if he'll make a look in the first one or if he'll be patient and wait to the last one.
DJ's so good in the carousel. Usually able to gain a lot of time on Hartley on corner exit, and there he's able to close the gap a little bit, but if it's still this way going into turn 11, that's going to be a very exciting corner to watch.
I think he might just sit on this. Let's look off the gearbox of the 0-3. Yes, DJ's going to wait, but that's brought Chris Henn right back into the mix. Half a lap left here at Sonoma Raceway for race 1 of round 5 of the SPEC MX-5 SimRacing Challenge. Jumping curbs for the final time through the S's.
And DJ is there. This turn 11 is going to be one to watch. This is going to be an incredible ending to this race.
Through the S's for the final time, setting him up. He's got one fast corner left, and then it's the slow hairpin of turn 11. He's right on the bumper of the 0-3. Through turn number 10, heading down to turn 11. Does he take a look? Off on the racetrack. He's going to have one final opportunity, a dive to the inside, late on the brakes. Here he comes. DJ Alessandrini, door slams the 0-3. Here comes Chris Henn to the inside to take the lead away. One corner left, turn 12, but Hartley gets the run. Coming back to the checkered flag. Looks like Robert Hartley is going to get there first, and Hartley steals the win away after it almost was taken from him. Checkered flag waves, and Hartley gets the win.
That was absolutely incredible. I thought Chris Henn there was going to have an opportunity to steal it from Alessandrini and Hartley. What a race that was.
Holy cow. That was so close for Chris Henn. He almost had it stolen, but just couldn't get the run off the corner. But Hartley gets the victory. What a race.
Yeah, once DJ took that little jolt to the right, we knew he was going to dive it in there in turn 11, and he and Robert Hartley made door-to-door contact, and then out of nowhere, Chris Henn pops up, and they were 3 wide there for a second.
Let's take a look at it. Here is another view from down in turn number 11. DJ took a look, and he threw everything he had down here. A late juke over to the side. Hartley gave him the space, thinking he'd overrun the corner, and he did, but then 33 of Chris Henn gets there, but he gets hit by the 91 of Alessandrini, and then they drag race off the corner back to the start-finish line, and it was Robert Hartley with the run. What a finish.
That was incredible. That was incredible. That's all you hope for in this kind of racing with these kind of cars at this kind of track. What a race that was.
And Henn, if he hadn't gotten hit by DJ there, he might have had a good enough run to get back, but he ended up losing out to DJ for second by only 0.2 of a second here. Actually, that was it was 5 thousandths of a second. It was even closer.
Yeah, it was really close at the line. DJ and Robert Hartley they were 3 wide there for a long amount of time. And then, like you said, Chris Henn just could not get the power down to try to win this race.
What a crazy result. And here's one final look at it before we'll let you go for a short break and we set up for race number 2. We're going to talk to all of these drivers later tonight, so stay tuned for the end of race 2 where we'll do our interviews and talk to the drivers. But a 3-wide pass for the lead was attempted, but they didn't get done, and they finished how they started the lap with Robert Hartley out in front. So here's a look at your race results. Of course, Robert Hartley winning the race by 0.2 of a second over Alessandrini, then Chris Henn 0.005 of a second behind DJ. What a round there. That was spectacular stuff. Paul Darling comes home with a 4th, Saxon in 5th. Luke Pfeiffer, a good result in 6th. How about Thomas Bresci, 7th place? And Jonathan DeCousier, 8th. Mitchell Peak, 9th. Jesse Stevens in 10th. He recovered after getting turned around on lap number 1. Drivers who didn't have great races, Dakota Dickerson served that penalty, finished 15th. Steve Ficacci, 16th. Shabelsky, Mark Snodgrass, Jonathan White, and Michael Borden all struggling. White and Borden, I think, DNF'd 6 and 9 laps down, respectively. But, wow, Jarrett, I don't know what I'm expecting for race number 2, but it's going to be crazy, I think, after seeing that result in race 1.
You really can't hope for anything better in a road course race with such fun cars. I'm honestly speechless right now.
So, spectacular racing in the first of 2 events tonight. Again, here is another look at our format for this evening. We've completed race number 1, which is at 8:45, and we're going to get ready to load into race number 2, which is a 30-minute race, which is 10 minutes longer, and also probably 10 times as exciting. So stay with us. We'll be back with you in just a moment. Here's a word from our sponsors. Welcome back to Digital Wine Country here in the iRacing platform and Sonoma Raceway. And Jarrett, race 1 was spectacular. We saw some incredible racing and an incredible finish. But again, I want to talk to you a little bit more about our past weekend. We were just chatting about it over the break, about Grid Life Midwest. That was such a cool experience to be out there and to kind of meet some of these guys that we're watching here. And DJ Alessandrini was one of them. But just tell me a little bit more about your experience on Friday and Saturday when you were there, kind of, you know, what Grid Life was and how much of an event it is, because it was a lot of fun to be there for the first time, and to also for me commentating and for you getting a ride with one of your dream cars.
Yeah, Grid Life was awesome. So it was in South Haven, Michigan. I'm from Detroit, Michigan. I've lived there my whole life, and I've never been to Gingerman Raceway in the west side of the state, and so that was awesome to see all these car people kind of congregate on a very small town on the west side of my home state. It was really cool to see everyone there, happy to just see cars, happy to care about motorsports, and happy to just have fun. I didn't really hang out too much at night doing the music festivities, but I heard that was a blast for everyone who took part in that. And it's just a really fun celebration of cars, of motorsport, and of going fast. And, you know, as people watching this and as people who are subscribed to the Winding Road YouTube channel, what else could you ask for, you know?
And speaking about, the Grid Life event, or just any motorsports event in general, a lot of times, people are concerned about the entry cost to running in something like Grid Life or participating. And after talking with a lot of people over the weekend, I was really surprised to hear how affordable, I'm not speaking about Grid Life necessarily. Grid Life doesn't sponsor us, but it's just such an interesting platform of racing. The Grid Life Touring Cup, such a low cost to entry, but if you're looking for safety equipment or electronics or, really anything, especially if you drive a Mazda vehicle, then I would be checking out Winding Road's website and Winding Road Racing, because they have a lot of equipment that you would necessarily need for your race car. And helmets, gloves, all that sort of stuff. You can find all that kind of information and more products like that on the Winding Road Racing website. Again, Winding Road has really done a great service to us for allowing us to use their YouTube channel. So please, if you have a moment while you're waiting for race 2, we have about 18 minutes till the next race starts. So open up the Winding Road Racing website and just take a look at what they have. They have a bunch of stuff there, as well as if you're interested in taking driving school through an SCCA accredited school, then check out LevelUp Racing School, because they're a very affordable way to get your feet wet in participating in track days and getting your car or just a race car prepped and ready to go racing. And WeatherTech, of course, sim racing hardware. If you want to just expand on the sim racing hobby and maybe real world racing is just a bit too expensive, you can check out WeatherTech's high performance sim racing equipment and do it in your living room for half the cost and be able to go to any racetrack that you want. Of course, Paradigm Shift driver development gives you a lot of tips and tricks on how to make it around some of the greatest racetracks in the world. So I want to say hi to Luciano Pereira. I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing the name correctly, from Argentina. That's pretty cool, Jarrett. Got a global audience here tonight on the Winding Road Magazine channel as we get ready to go racing for race number 2.
Yeah, they're tuning in from all over, and how could you not after that incredible first race we just witnessed?
Spectacular race, and I want to talk to you more about that finish, because we saw DJ lunge in turn 11, and you know what that did? It knocked him over the 15 incident limit. He hit 16, and that is going to give him a 2-point penalty. Jarrett, does that matter to you as a driver that you got that 2-point penalty when you have such a big lead, or is that just the price that you pay and something that you're willing to take with that big of a lead?
I mean, he knew the circumstance before he made that move. You don't really know how many incident points you get from iRacing, whether it's 2x or 4x, but he knew that he was going to get something from that, and he knew how many he had, assuming he has it pop up on his screen like mostly everyone else has. So I think, if you're going for a win, you're going for the win. You don't really think about things like that. And, with the lead, he can kind of afford it. He can kind of deal with it and not be too affected by it, but I don't think he'll think much of it in the second race.
And Luke Pfeiffer, currently 9th in practice, had a great run in the first race tonight from Santa Rosa, California, and runs time trials and HPDE events in the real world. And you see him working his way up through turns 2 and 3 right now. And it's not often we get a chance to kind of look through everyone's hometowns and everything and kind of see how nationwide and how global this series really is. Remember, the season end prize, you get to select from a bunch of different things, but one of them is test driving a real SPEC MX-5 race car. And we'll look around and see who's got the longest flight to get there. I know that we had YT Biggs from over on Twitch. He came over for the first little while, but he has an injury that prevents him from running any longer. But he was all the way from England. So let's see who else is out there. Robert Hartley, we've talked about him a lot, from Pelion, South Carolina. Brian Chebelsky from Findlay, Ohio. That probably just passed right by there this weekend.
Paul Darling from Michigan, beautiful state of Michigan.
From Dearborn. And runs autocross and solo racing in an amateur category. Michael Borden from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, in races club or regional level racing, and that's just south of Road America, where we'll be headed for Grid Life, the Grid Life Championship this year in September. Jesse Stevens from Talmo, Georgia. I'm not sure about the proximity to Road Atlanta, but I'm sure he's probably been there a couple times or two. Chris Henn from Coram, New York. Great state of New York. I'm not going to compete with Michigan, but he's out there. How about Jonathan White from Syosset? Oh, boy, how do you pronounce that? Syosset? Soyset. I don't know. I don't know how to pronounce that.
There you go.
I'm going to get made fun of. Mitchell Peak from Canada. Our friends to the north. Nathan Saxon from Rhode Island. Thomas Bressie from Havertown, Pennsylvania. And Bressie ended up with a 7th after not a great qualifying effort in race 1, so I'm sure he'll be trying to do a little bit better in race 2. So practice complete. We'll start up qualifying now to set the grid for race number 2. And you know who else?
Tell you what, though, no matter how far away these guys are, to get the chance to test a SPEC Miata, SPEC MX-5 at the Circuit of the Americas, that's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
Absolutely, and that's why everyone's racing so hard, because there is that chance. And honestly, you know, a lot of times racing is about money, and unfortunately that's the reality of the world, is that if you don't have money, the chances that, you know, that chance that you can race drop. But that's why things like Grid Life and things like this are so great, because this gives you an opportunity to basically go out there, and for just the cost of an iRacing subscription, you can go out there and try to earn yourself a spot in that ride. A lot of people say, well, I could do better. Well, show your stuff, and you can enter for the 2020 season when that comes around. But so far this season, we've seen a great display of talent. You know who else is out here, Jarrett, is John D. Allen, listed as a pro driver and eligible for the season-end prize. Well, because he competes in the real SPEC MX-5 Challenge, so it's a good way to rack yourself up against the pro.
Yeah, he's done this once or twice. He knows what he's doing out there.
And I think he has the distinct advantage in that he actually designed the setup for this weekend. So I think it'd be interesting to see where he qualifies for race 2 here coming up shortly in about 13 minutes.
He could probably drive this place like the back of his hand with his eyes closed. So we'll see how well he does in qualifying today.
I just find it so interesting how many clouds we've had over the speedway here tonight. Taking a look at the conditions, 79 degrees Fahrenheit, significantly cooler than race number 1. So that's going to change the handling characteristics. You know who was quick with cool weather? You mentioned it a bunch of times, Jarrett. It's that 03 Robert Hartley.
Also, so was Jesse Stevens. You know, we didn't really see the incredible fast qualifying times until the last minute of the session, really, on the last one, where Jesse Stevens came out and put a 0.3 of a second faster lap. Then Robert Hartley went out there and did an even faster one. And he and DJ and, you know, Chris Henn, they were all together there once the clouds kind of came in and sped up the race.
Well, I want to watch him. We're going to ride on board with a lap with Jesse Stevens, and we're going to ride on board the gyro cam here and get a good look at the elevation change here at Sonoma. But here is a lap on board with Jesse Stevens from Talmo, Georgia, as he heads down the front straightaway, and he's got to have a car in front of him to draft off of. Is he already eclipsing 100 miles an hour heading up the hill towards turn 2 underneath the bridge, and then jumping on the brakes down a couple gears into third, climbing the curbs, cracking out wide, then down the hill into turn 3 and then up to the top of 3A. And then you want to just drill the curb here on the right, up in the air, about 20 degrees of rotation. Ooh, a little bit of a slide off the racetrack, but he'll retain control of it, and then drop down into turn 4, then head towards the carousel, that sweeping left-hander that DJ Alessandrini was trying to set up so well those last couple laps.
These cars do get squirrely when not all 4 tires are on the ground. And as a race car driver, like I said before, you want to keep all tires on the ground if possible.
Well, when you don't have all 4 tires on the ground, you don't have all 4 tires doing tire things. The cars don't steer very well when your front tires are in the air. They don't stop very well when your brakes are in the air. So there's only one distinct advantage about getting the tires up in the air. It's that you clip those curbs that can help you rotate the car, just shifting weight around. And you'll see a lot of drivers do that, especially if you watch NASCAR here at Sonoma. You'll see drivers just drilling the curbs left and right because it helps those big, heavy stock cars negotiate the racetrack.
Most certainly.
Heading down into turn 10 now, the fast right-hander. And hit that very well. I don't know if this will be a pole lap, but it's certainly quick. Paul Darling jumps to the top of the 1:47.9. That's already almost what pole was in the last race. So we're seeing times very quick already.
Robert Hartley now with a 0.6 of a second advantage as he tops to the top. And DJ Alessandrini following right behind him, followed by none other than Chris Henn.
Whereas Jesse Stevens come across the line last time through, a 1:48.415. Not a great lap for the 13, but he's still got 10 minutes to do better. And off into turn 1 he goes again, trying to find some more speed, and the sun has come out. That's not what you want to see if you want to run faster.
I am honestly just blown away by how consistent those top 3 of Hartley, Alessandrini, and Henn have looked to be. Even Paul Darling back there in 4th.
It's actually
just like
the top 4 are exactly what our top 4 were in race number 1, and that's no coincidence there, I don't think.
No, and that's about where they qualified for race 1 too. So they're not just there because of the luck, people. They're there because they're that fast and they're that close and that competitive here today at Sonoma.
And let's take another look at our point standings walking into tonight's race. This is not including the race 1 standings, but there's DJ Alessandrini, who is leading by 23 points over Robert Hartley, and Hartley managed to just eat into a couple points on that lead. I think he'll be within 2 or he'll probably have closed in 2 or 3. So it's about a 20-point gap between Alessandrini and Hartley. Jesse Stevens probably lost some points to those drivers. But again, it's a winner-take-all in the last race of the season. So even if you were to win every single race of the season, if you don't win the last one, it doesn't necessarily mean you win the championship. So.
And you did mention that DJ Alessandrini did pick up, he did go over the allotted number of incidents in that last corner collision there with Robert Hartley. So if that is true, he will lose even more points to Robert Hartley.
Yeah, it's only a 2-point penalty, so for him it was probably worth it to take the shot. But, you know, you can't have too many of those, and I think he'll probably be a little bit more conservative in race number 2. But again, he's got almost a full race lead over everyone else, so there's really no reason not to throw it out there and just try to get a victory, because that will help you a heck of a lot more than just finishing second or third.
Fortune definitely favors the bold here in motorsports, and DJ Alessandrini was the walking epitome of that. I appreciate it.
That saying is so good. Zanoa Wilson just went off track. I think he had a bit of an off... Oh, no, that was not Zanoa Wilson. Somebody just went off track, and I couldn't figure out who it was. All right, back at the top of the board. It's the 0-3 familiar face. Bresci didn't qualify very well last time. He's trying to improve on that right now with a 1:48.203. That's his best time. Sitting 7th right now, Nathan Saxon in 6th. Jonathan White, he's showing pangs of pace this week. But he's got to do a little bit better to get himself in that top 3 that have really been the most competitive this evening.
Someone who also did not qualify too well last year was Jonathan DeCouger, and he finds himself again in 20th place. I'm sure he'll go back out and attempt another crack at it, but currently sitting at a 150.311.
Yeah, he's out right now, and I don't think that lap that he ran is where he's going to be. I think he'll jump up probably midfield, but you're right about his struggles this week. He just hasn't had the pace at this racetrack that he's had at other racetracks, and I find that peculiar because Jonathan DeCouger is so skilled, and we've seen him race a lot over on the Sim Championship Racing Series over on Sim TV, and he's quite talented and adapts very well to situations, but consistency has not been in his favor this season.
No, he'll definitely look to gain some time and try to start closer up to mid-pack like he started in race 1, and hopefully build on the race 1 result and try to do a little bit better here today in the second race at Sonoma, as DJ Alessandrini has to go really wide to let a fast car go by, presuming they're on hot laps.
Well, I think a lot of this is setting yourself up to catch someone for that long back straightaway. If you look from high above the speedway, take a look at that straightaway right through the middle of your screen, diagonal from top left to bottom right. And that is the drag strip at Sonoma Raceway. So Sonoma is not only a road course, it also has a quarter-mile drag strip, which is that lighter colored asphalt you see there on the left. And then it transitions into that darker asphalt there in the bottom right of your screen. And that straightaway is long. And what that means is you can get a big slipstream and use that draft to your advantage. And really, in qualifying, you're setting yourself up to use that draft to pull yourself along. So that is really the difference that we could see between Alessandrini and Hartley. That could close right up if Alessandrini gets a good draft.
Yeah, Sonoma Raceway, like you mentioned, is a jack of all trades. They host all sorts of racing series, NASCAR, SPEC MX-5. They do drag races. It's quite incredible how multi-purpose this speedway truly is.
They've hosted also Grand Am as well in seasons past, and it's one of the racetracks I wish that Grand Am would go back to in its current IMSA form. But we have seen IndyCar here within the last couple of years. I know they just switched to WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca for this upcoming season. But Sonoma, a very famous racetrack. It's changed its face a couple times. It has a bunch of different layouts, and the layouts are really interesting. Each one has its own quirks and features, as the great YouTuber Doug DeMuro would say. But the Cup course is my personal favorite. If we can get a look from high above here again.
I was going to mention that you always tell me how that's your favorite configuration. I'm really inclined to agree with you.
I'd love to get a better shot of it. I can't seem to get it right now, but yeah, the Cup course is basically, it bypasses the carousel that you're looking at in the middle of your screen. It takes 3A all the way down into turn 4, which is about a 80-degree right-hander over a big tall curb. and then you just kind of shoot right across to turn number 7, which is our hairpin here. So a very different racetrack, a lot shorter of a racetrack. It's only 1.9 miles versus 2.5. That's my personal favorite, but the long course is fun as well.
And now the quote Cup course is now the old Cup course because the NASCAR series, I believe they adopted the carousel for this season.
That is correct. They'll be running the long course basically as we're running it tonight, essentially. So interesting to see how that'll come into play in about a couple. Actually, they're going to be there in 2 weeks, so we'll get to see that on Fox Sports in the next couple weeks. NASCAR heads to Sonoma, but tonight it's all us in the SPEC MX-5 SimRacing Challenge. 4.5 minutes left in qualifying, and Robert Hartley retains his pole spot. Alessandrini seems satisfied. He's just waiting in pit lane, but Paul Darling and Sam Scott, these guys are teammates over on the Washington, D.C. region SCCA League, and right now running nose to tail, maybe trying to draft off of each other.
A little bit confused as to what happened to DJ Alessandrini there. He was coming into turn 11, looked like he was about to start a lap, and then, pulled the side slant on the brakes and went back to pit road. So, curious to be settling on his time, but there's a 0.3 of a second gap right now between he and Robert Hartley for first.
He might not think he has the pace in him to beat that 0.3. So that's probably the only reason why I wouldn't see him going out. But, I mean, second's not a bad place to start.
Yeah, really not for sure. He could also be waiting for a cloud to come over the racetrack. That's where we've seen the fastest times come in. And when Robert Hartley laid down his lap this session, there was a cloud over the track, and the track temperature was lower, and a faster course was presented to him.
Yeah, and actually, take a look at the track temp. It's actually risen about 10 degrees since we started this qualifying session. It's up to 96. Actually, no, it was down in the 70s when we started. So the clouds have gone away, and the track temp has risen about 15 to 20 degrees, which severely slows down the lap times. And we're not seeing anyone challenge for that top spot like we did at the end of the first qualifying session.
You blink once, though, especially on iRacing, and the clouds will be over the track, and the degrees will drop, and the track will get a lot faster. So that could happen here, and I bet that's what DJ is waiting for. As he sits on pit road watching time tick away in this session.
I think he might be running out, though. 3 minutes of qualifying remaining, and the track temp just dipped up to 97 degrees. So I don't think it'll even have time to cool down enough for DJ to have another run at it. So he might go out just for giggles, but I don't see him beating that 0.3's time, which was set earlier in the session.
Jonathan DeCouser here coming around the final corner to try to put down a lap that's faster than his current one. Let's see if he improves on his time.
Been a struggle this week to get a decent time. He comes across the line. I think that was an out lap here. Up to the top of the hill.
It was not an out lap, but he must have messed up somewhere because they timed it as a 2-minute, 1-second lap. So 11 seconds off of his time. So I hope this one, and I'm pretty confident this one will be faster than that.
Off into turn number 4, and DeCouser right now dead last in the qualifying order, and that's definitely not where you want to be.
John D. Allen even in 14th, the setup master for this race.
So we have 2 pros competing now. Remember, Dakota Dickerson was penalized in race number 1 for contact down in turn 11. So Dickerson trying to recover from that. His season has been, for lack of a better term, not great in that number 43. So trying to do better in race 2 tonight, but he's going to have to battle John D. Allen in that number 02. Of course, John D. Allen, a regular participant in the real-world SPEC MX-5 Racing Series, has also competed in the Global MX-5 Series. And he's very well seasoned in Mazda MX-5s. Sits 14th, which just goes to show you how competitive the field really is. That one of these guys, the guys that races these things in real life, has 13 guys that are quicker than him right now in qualifying.
And now they'll go reason to show how competitive this field is. The top 4, they're the same, but then you look in 5th. Jonathan White's so close, 0.3 of a second behind Paul Darling in 4th. And you can put a blanket over those 2 guys.
Qualifying almost complete here at Sonoma Raceway, and Michael Borden in that 42, he's out on track right now going for his qualifying lap. And remember, he got involved in that lap 1 collision, ended up, I believe, either 6 or 9 laps down at the end of race 1, and it just a disastrous result for him. He's had quite a bit of pace this season, just hasn't been able to manage to harness it for a race victory. He's been close, but no cigar a bunch of times. We'll see if he can log a quick lap here and get a great starting position for race 2.
It'll definitely be a night Jonathan DeCouser will want to forget. He went out, he bettered his lap time only by 0.8 of a second. He'll find himself in 19th place right now, so definitely a night he'll want to forget.
Brian Chabelski as well in the number 12 car. Has also not been a spectacular season for him, but his qualifying effort so far, only a 1 49.915, which is about 2.5 seconds off the pace of the leaders. So Chwalski normally very quick, tonight struggling just like Takuja. And again, both those guys coming over from the Sim Championship Racing Series. I guess they need to run Sonoma a bit more and get more acclimated to it, because this is clearly not their track.
Yeah, they'll probably be disgusted at this place and never want to run here again. But luckily, you know, 2 races, they can recover from that easily next time.
So as qualifying comes to a close here, I wanted to thank publicly a driver by the name of Tom O'Gorman. And Tom races for Honda in the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge. And he won at Daytona and Sebring in his Honda Civic TCR machine. And Tom was the other member of the commentary team this past weekend at Grid Life Midwest, and was gracious enough to take me out drifting in a Honda Civic. And you heard that right, he took me drifting in a Honda Civic. And I don't think I can express to you how crazy of a ride that was. And I want to give him a huge thank you for taking me out on that experience and really showing me what a car is capable of, even one that you might have underestimated from the start. So Tom's a great guy, and really looking forward to seeing him in a couple weeks at Watkins Glen and rooting for him. So if you're looking for a driver to root for in IMSA, root for Tom O'Gorman, because he's a great dude, and I wish him the best this season.
He also has incredible hair. That's one thing I will say about Tom O'Gorman. Incredible guy, incredible hair. And as someone who saw him on track with you out there, he was definitely whipping you around that good Fisherman Raceway.
Yeah, his hair is great, and his signature blue sunglasses, of course, adorning his face always, yes. And very stylish man as well.
And I think he had the fastest time at Grid Life.
Oh, he did.
Right?
Oh, yeah, by a huge margin, too. He was only 7/10 off of the track record at Gingerman Raceway out in South Haven, Michigan. And the only reason he didn't win that track record is because the motor blew on that Mitsubishi Evo. He was trying to... I say it's a Mitsubishi Evo. It's more like a spaceship that has a Mitsubishi logo on it, but blew the engine in it, so wasn't able to beat that lap time, but it was awful close.
The famed Gingerman Raceway, you know, and that historic lap time run by who? Ayrton Senna, I think it was, that set that lap time at Gingerman?
No, I think it was Will Ah Young last year that set that lap time.
Yes.
Eric Coutil, though, who is a regular over on the Grid Life iRacers League, he set the fastest ever wet lap time at Gingerman Raceway on Saturday. I don't remember the exact lap time, but it was the quickest ever in wet conditions at that racetrack.
There you go. Learn something new every day.
There you go. All right, qualifying complete. Robert Hartley again on pole. DJ Alessandrini takes second place. Where's the 13? Where is the 13? Jesse Stevens only 12th. Quick. So Stevens didn't get a great effort there in qualifying.
Big fall off there. Yep. All right. I'll tell you, they're starting 1, 2, 3, 4 the way they finish 1, 2, 3, 4, and that just shows how consistent these guys are.
Well, predictions. What, do you think they're going to finish like this, or do you think it's going to be just shake them up in a coffee can and see which one pops out first?
I honestly think DJ Alessandrini is going to win this race. I think I said that last time at Laguna Seca as well, but you know, he's got a cool name. He's a really great driver,
yeah,
and he was really fast there in race 1.
Yeah, the cool name gets you an extra 15 horsepower, I think.
It does, and the racing stripes too.
Yeah,
that he doesn't have.
Everyone's got the same livery on here. Provided by Michael Burbage of Night Fox Designs, I believe it is. And you can check out his stuff. I think I have that linked in the description as well. So, of course, this livery modeled off of the real-world SPEC MX-5 livery, and I think this is the best-looking paint scheme you could put on one of these cars. Makes them look so mean.
It's kind of, admittedly, as a Miata driver, it's hard to make a Miata look mean, but he did a great job with his livery design.
Okay. So half an hour is this next race coming up, and that means once we get the pace lap underway, it'll probably be about 10:25, the conclusion of race number 2, and by then we'll know who our winner is. And I'm taking a solid look at that top 3. Chris Henn, Robert Hartley, DJ Alessandrini as the ones to watch, but Nathan Saxon in that 41, he's sitting right behind the leaders in case they get together. Paul Barley in that 55, he's been quick all week as well. Maybe he can throw his hat in the ring here and steal one.
You would love to. And speaking of stealing one, Chris Henn almost stole that last one.
He almost
coming
did.
Out of turn 11 there at the end.
Had an opportunity to steal away the victory, and had he not gotten slowed down off the door contact from DJ Alessandrini, he probably would have had it. But about 5 thousandths of a second too short of stealing away second place, too. So it was awful close. Pace car is going to roll off. That's the Porsche 911 safety car. And that number 03, the cream-colored machine, Hartley's going to lead him around for another 2.5-mile pace lap.
You know, aside from that final lap madness and those 2 incidents at the beginning of the race, a really clean race here at Sonoma, and I think we'll see more of the same in race number 2.
There was some carnage the first couple laps, and once they got that sorted out, it was pretty much clean from there on out, other than a few small incidents here and there. But I think if you're Chris Henn, your job is to just stay right next to those leaders and wait for them to get together, because you know it's going to happen. It's just a matter of being there when it does.
You know, even 2 third-place finishes for Chris Henn, I wouldn't really be complaining about that.
Well, that's exactly what DJ Alessandrini did last week, and we know that this championship format, at least until the final race, it rewards consistency. So if Chris Henn could just start getting some consistent top 5s, he could launch himself back into the championship fight here. All right, heading off into the carousel now, down the hill. Let's take a look at our conditions for race number 2 of the night. And we're starting off with 74 degrees in the air and 97 on the racetrack. We've seen that fluctuate quite a bit with cloud cover. Again, mostly cloudy skies, so very similar conditions to race number 1. We expect it to cool off a little bit later in the race with incoming weather, and we'll see how that affects the front 3. Now down through the S's, the fast section where we saw everyone really just setting themselves up. And that's what's so great about Sonoma Raceway, is that it has 2 really good passing opportunities, but the rest of the racetrack is perfect for setting up the drivers in front. Lots of flowing left and right sectors to kind of get you set up to make a pass, even though not every corner is a passing opportunity.
I do think the best corner passing opportunity on the entire track is turn 11, where we saw that last lap madness take place in race number 1.
This race will be about 17 laps, but it is timed for 30 minutes. Pace car is going to pull off into pit lane. It'll be Robert Hartley and DJ Alessandrini side by side. Then behind them, Chris Henn, Paul Darling, and then Jonathan White and Luke Pfeiffer. Actually, excuse me, that's Nathan Saxon in the 41. Pace car is off. Field rounding turn 11, heading to turn 12 to start race number 2. 30 minutes on the board. Top 4 from the last race are now the top 4 for this race. Green flag flies, racing again at Sonoma, and look at Saxon already 3 wide on the outside.
3 wide before they even cross the start-finish line. Let's see how they can hold that, and they look to make it clean out of the front stretch.
A brake check there, and whoa, we're still 3 wide, looking from high above into the corner. Saxon makes up a ton of spots. Bresci gets turned. And
he got turned into the apex, and they've still reckoned back there.
Oh, man, a big pileup at the exit of turn 2. There's Jesse Stevens in it. John D. Allen, I think he got through it, but lots of damage on those front couple cars. We're going to look back at that at the end of the race, but Mitchell Peak, he's out of this one already. Robert Hartley holds the lead, but here comes DJ Alessandrini to the inside, and he'll take the lead away. Hartley almost gets off course, gets a little bit loose heading down into the carousel, but DJ Alessandrini from second last race to first in this race.
Alessandrini was able to capitalize there on Hartley's slight mistake, as these front 6 cars have kind of gotten away from that calamity there in the first few corners.
Again, we'll watch that replay at the end of the race, but a big pileup exiting turn number 2 has kind of split the field in half. And it's between, well, it's a bit more than half. It's about, well, Zenoa Wilson in 11th is that last car in line there, that bright magenta car at the back of that shot. But maybe DJ can try to run away here. He's got a bit of a gap. It's about a half a second over Robert Hartley. Then it's Henn, Jonathan White, Nathan Saxon, Michael Borden, Paul Darling, Luke Pfeiffer, Jack Sanchez, Zenoa Wilson, your top 10.
Paul Darling has fell a bit from his 4th place starting spot. The incident involving the cars number 24 of Thomas Bresci and the 13 car are under review by Ray Stewart.
That's interesting, because if you remember last round at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, they got together on lap 1 there as well. So those drivers are definitely not on each other's Christmas card lists. I heard some contact behind.
I do not think Christmas cards will be received by either of those drivers to each other, so we'll see what the stewards decide on that.
'Cause I think Christmas cards will be received by either of those drivers to each other, so we'll see what the stewards decide on that. 'Cause I think Christmas cards will be received by either of those drivers to each other, so we'll see what the stewards decide on that. 'Cause I think Christmas cards will be received by either of those drivers to each other, so we'll see what the stewards decide on that. 'Cause I think Christmas cards will be received by either of those drivers to each other, so we'll see what the stewards decide on that. 'Cause I think Christmas cards will be received by either of those drivers to each other, so we'll see what the stewards decide on that. 'Cause I think Christmas cards will be received by either of those drivers to each other, so we'll see what the stewards decide on that. 'Cause I think Christmas cards will be received by either of those drivers to each other, so we'll see what the stewards decide on that. 'Cause I think Chris 1 lap.
Mitchell Peak putting in the chat that Stevie actually also needs to review. So
Oh,
I don't
boy.
know if Mitchell Peak is too pleased right now.
Well, again, we're going to look at those incidents post-race, but for now, we'll keep you on the lead battle. Robert Hartley trying to chase back down that bright blue number 91. Chris Henn has found some pace. He's all over the 03 Hartley. Maybe he's got a fight in this, and here comes Jonathan White, the 22.
DJ is begging for Chris Henn though to make a move on Robert Hartley and see if he can pull away from them. And as you mentioned, Mitchell Peak has now said in the chat, he's done that before at Summit Point Raceway, so, you know, he's mentioned, you know, previous incidents between these guys, and like you said, I do not think these guys will be too friendly after this.
Oh, whoa! Paul Darling all sorts of sideways. He spins in the carousel. I don't know if he got any help. We'll take a look at this one real quick. No, he just got loose all by himself. Got the car off balance and overcorrected, spun around. So Paul Darling's race goes from not a great start to very, very, very poor. So he's going to drop all the way back to 16th, 17th, maybe even 18th.
Yeah, it took him a while to go in there after he spun out in the carousel. It looks like he's got it going again now. That's really unfortunate from that 4th place finish and the first race here.
I'll tell you what, though, is that DJ has found something. 0.7 of a second up on Hartley. And then Jonathan White, how about this guy in the 22? We haven't seen a whole lot of him this season, but he has some pace tonight, sitting in 4th and closing in on 33 of Chris Henn.
Jesse Stevens Day is calling for bad reverses. He has left the session, so his race is officially over here in the 2nd race at Sonoma.
Yeah, he was 3rd in the points coming into tonight. He's definitely going to drop down a couple spots. A real shame for the 13. This last 2 weeks has really been a disaster for him. So the 13 car, Jesse Stevens, out of the race. Thank you, Jarrett. Appreciate the update. Up into turn number 1, or excuse me, turn number 2 now. And that battle for 2nd getting heated, but if they let DJ get out too far in front, he'll be able to break that draft and run away. So I think Hartley, all he's focused on right now is keeping that blue car in sight.
Yeah, this is the biggest lead anyone's had so far here today. I mean, in the last race, they were all tight-knit for the entire race, and DJ has found a 6-7 car length gap here very early on in the 2nd race.
How is our pro, John D. Allen, faring? He's 10th right now. He started in 14th, so he's up 4 spots, but has some pretty significant damage on the nose of that car. He's got Sam Scott all over him. Scott dives to the inside in the carousel, and both those drivers kind of missed the apex there, and a very awkward exchange of position there, but Samuel Scott moves into the top 10.
Jesse Stevens, Thomas Bressy said it's still under review. Jesse Stevens has left, so we don't know how that will be impacted by the steward's decision.
Wow, I'm really curious to see how they rule that one, because I think they ruled racing incident last week, or last round, I should say. I'm not sure what I didn't really get a good look at how that started. Again, we'll take a look at it post-race.
And right when I started to talk about that, Chris Henn was able to get to the side of Robert Hartley. They were side by side for a second, and then Robert Hartley had pulled away from him.
I think that was down over in turn 7, but Hartley got the better run out of the corner. And last time through, Hartley was slower than DJ by about 0.02 of a second. Across the line this time, DJ runs a 1:48.307 to Robert Hartley's 1:48.239, so Hartley is quicker.
The track temps will be changing. Look out for that as the sun is out in the first part of this track. And Robert Hartley gets very close as he's been for a few laps to the back bumper of DJ Alessandrini.
See the sun beating down on the racetrack. That's going to heat up the racing surface. Oh, both the leaders off the racetrack. DJ and Robert way off course. They get back on, but a scary moment there, and DJ's still off track.
Yeah, Chris Henn loved to see that for a second. Now it looks like Jonathan White has assumed the 4th position in this little cell of 4 cars, taking it from last guy's 4th place, Robert Hartley. Paul Darling.
Incident towards the rear. Jonathan DeCouger and Brian Shabelski off course. This is over, I believe, in turn 3. And so, very awkward situation here. These guys running side by side. Ooh. And just 2 cars just got together. And nothing. Yeah. I don't think that either of them did anything wrong. But we'll look again from up high above and see what the viewers' opinions are.
Yeah, to me it looked like, just 2 guys going for the same part of the racetrack and just wasn't enough room there. So, interesting to see if the stewards even look at that one.
Curious as well. Meanwhile, DJ has extended that lead out again by a couple tenths, but that battle for 2nd continues to heat up. Jonathan White, I'm telling you, he's going to end up in this podium at the end of this race. He is all over Chris Henn. And Hen slipping and sliding over the curbs in turn 10. That 22 car is coming.
Speaking of stewards looking at incidents, okay, I believe he's finally got his wish. Nope, unsure. So with Mitchell Peak is basically begging for the stewards to look at the incident between he and Steve Focacci, but they have going and they were reviewing the incident with the 12 car and the 31 car, the one we just saw, to see if there was any hard done there.
All right, so we'll keep you updated on that, I suppose. As Mark Snodgrass, he looked like he was real slow, but he was just heading through the hairpin, so he's good. Back in 16th place with some damage to the left rear of that 67 car. But these top 4, and actually really make that the top 5, Nathan Saxon is creeping into this picture in that number 41 car.
DJ has had the lead and has extended it to, really long leads here at times, but Robert Hartley's staying where he needs to stay. And it's a longer race, so the drivers have more time. Not even 10 minutes into this one, so there's still the entire full race 1 left to go in this one.
Yeah, I think that's something important to remember, is that there's really no reason for Hartley to push the issue now. Wait until the last lap like DJ did. Make your moves late. You can do that here. So he might be putting a little bit of pressure on, but I don't think he's seriously going to try for lead until late in the race. But I will tell you, these guys behind are hungry, and they are closing up that gap.
Yeah, definitely. And DJ's going to know what to expect. And Chris Hen's going to know what to expect from DJ and Robert, as they've been racing together like this practically for now, 40 minutes at this point. So these guys will know what's going to happen and who's going to go where and who's going to see what. So it really interesting to see how the second edition of this battle heats up.
And when you race with somebody side by side for so long, you start to learn their habits, and that might be something that Hartley is studying right now, trying to figure out what DJ's doing different. But now I don't think Hartley has a choice. He has Chris Hen all over his rear bumper, so Hen's trying to force that 0-3 past DJ Alessandrini. So Hartley doesn't have a choice now to stick behind. I think he's got to make this pass here soon.
Yeah, Chris Hen practically pushed Robert Hartley there through turn 11 the entire way through, and I thought that was going to get Hartley to the inside, or rather to the right side of DJ Alessandrini on the straightaway.
Climbing the hill into turn 2 now. These top 4 are just completely inseparable with 20 minutes left, so we've eclipsed that 10-minute extra time that race 2 has over race 1, so now we have basically race 1 length left. And down into turn 4, you see how the accordion effect works. Everyone closes up under braking and stretches out under throttle.
I know Chris Hen's going to be hungry there to try to do better than 3rd place. I mean, it's kind of, he's been running there the entire first 2 races so far. And like we both said, we thought he was going to steal the win.
Now the slipstream into effect. Where does Chris Hen maybe take a look at Robert Hartley? Here's a look from on board the 0-3 as the 33 gets a run, but he'll back out. I think he's waiting as well.
Patience being exercised by these 3 drivers, as they know that they still have 20 minutes left in this.
See them hopping the curbs on corner exit and just kind of clipping them. You see how much it helps the 33 rotate. You hook that tire on the inside of the curb, and it helps that car turn. It's all strategy using those curves around here. You can hit them pretty hard with these cars, and you won't necessarily upset the chassis. You just have to be careful that you don't hit them just the wrong way to break your suspension.
These curves are definitely not the curves at the Charlotte Roval here on iRacing. Those are scary. Yeah, and there is more cloud coverage in turn 11 now that'll cool down the racetrack and make things faster.
Absolutely. You mentioned the curves at the Charlotte Roval, and we're not racing there this season, at least not yet. There's still a to-be-added date, but no plans right now to race at the Roval. But those curbs will eat you alive. Here at Sonoma, they're tall, but they're not really rough, so you can drive all over them.
Update on a steward's decision. The 12 car of Brian Zabelski has been black flagged for his contact with the 31 car.
It's a little bit surprising.
Jonathan Cruiser.
But penalty.
Yeah, that was the one where we both decided where, they were just a racing incident, but Brian Zabelski has been black flagged for that.
Yeah, so again, there's certain opportunities when we might disagree with something that the stewards do, but that doesn't necessarily mean we're right. I think that they've got full view of that situation, probably had a better look at it, and probably understood the intentions of the drivers better. But the 12 of Brian Zabelski will have to serve a pass-through penalty. And
yeah, they definitely have more time to look at it than we do, as well as they can look at it in the cockpit and they can kind of see which way the wheels were turning. And so I'm never going to go against the stewards, but yeah, very interesting call there. for Brian DeValci, the black flag.
For sure, the top 5 all in that shot there. And all the lead that DJ Alessandrini had is gone now. And that means he's really on the chopping block here, closing on halfway in this race. And again, everyone just kind of biding their time, waiting for the opportunity to strike. How about Samuel Scott and John D. Allen? These guys have been fighting for a while. They've been pretty equally matched on pace, but Allen trying to get himself back inside the top 10.
Another steward ruling incoming. They ruled that the 13 car of Jesse Stevens was responsible for the incident with Thomas Bresci, but since he had left the server, there's nothing they can really do about it. So just more clarification on that incident at the start of the race.
So technically a penalty for the 13, but I guess the penalty was that he had to go home early, and I guess it was a self-inflicted one there for the 13. So 2 penalties handed out here early. So this is a drastic turnaround from Laguna Seca a few weeks ago. I thought this race would be relatively calm, but that has not been the case at the starts, at least.
Yeah, not at the starts. Once they get going, it's kind of calmed down a bit, except for the last race being the outlier. I don't know if we'll see anything that crazy. But yeah, once these starts kind of slow down a bit, it becomes a really clean, squeaky clean race. But those starts are so treacherous here.
Well, I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that a lot of these corners are blind, and on the opening laps, when everyone's bunched up, if someone spins, you're coming over the top of a crest. You can't see what's on the other side. You're hoping and praying everyone's got it straight, but if they don't, they'll drive right into the door of another driver. So it can cause a lot of damage, and that's why you got to be careful on the opening laps here. So Jonathan White has worked his way around Chris Henn into third and now putting pressure on Hartley. And I'm curious to see if Jonathan White is going to wait and be patient like Chris Henn is, or if he'll push the issue and try to get around to the lead.
Hey, Jonathan White up in the top 3, watching these corners take place. DJ Alessandrini and Robert Hartley kind of waiting in the wings, if you will.
And Nathan Saxon has really officially closed that gap down into drafting range. He's 0.6 of a second behind the front 4. You see them snaking their way through the S's now. And again, we've seen in the last race how 3 cars can get bunched up in the same incident very, very easily. So maybe 5th isn't a bad place to be. He's got a pretty good view of what's going on.
A lap 7 incident between Steve Focacci in the 51 and the Cougar is under review by the stewards. The turn 11 incident on lap 7.
On lap 7? That was only a lap ago.
Yes.
Very interesting.
And Steve Focacci actually spins out in the carousel.
Yep, there he is. Oh, that car is destroyed. Whatever has happened to that machine has completely crippled it. And let's take a look here.
Controversial race for Steve Focacci so far, and Mitchell Peak basically begging the stewards to look at an incident that he was involved in, and now they seem to be going from bad to worse. And we're curious that he's still out there with such a damaged race car.
Yeah, that car is not drivable. He spun that thing out because the left rear tire basically wasn't touching the ground. You see here, that thing is completely mangled, and I'm sure he'll probably have a meatball flag and have to serve that penalty here shortly. Alessandrini, Hartley, White, and Henn, your top 4. And right on top of each other again. This is definitely turning into a SPEC MX-5 style, or even a what's the word? A SPEC Miata kind of race here, where everyone's just kind of drafting with each other and waiting to make a move.
Very quick steward's decision is Jonathan DeCouger has been black flagged for the incident with Steve Focacci.
So DeCouger was the victim of one incident, and then the devil in another. So the 31 penalized. So that's 3 penalties handed down here early in the going. We still have half the race left.
And Jonathan DeCouger has manually disconnected, so that will be the end of his night.
Yeah, I think
not a great night for him all around.
No, I just one to forget for sure. And he had just climbed up the standings this week or last round after having a pretty decent night at Laguna Seca a few weeks ago. So Jonathan DeCouger, all those advantages that he had are going to go away very quickly tonight. And a couple cars off in dirt tracking through turn 10. Seen a lot of that, but again, remember those incidents. You can easily negate the positions you gain with points penalties by going off track too many times.
DJ Alessandrini knows all about that. 2 points, I believe, will be deducted from him, but now he's in the lead. Not really. I bet he's not thinking about that at all as he's leading this one. 13 and a half minutes left here.
Well, winning makes you forget all the bad things that led up to the win. I think that checkered flag is the only thing that DJ's going for. Again, he's got such a big points lead. He doesn't have the points race right now. So he's just in a good enough spot where he can just have fun for a couple weeks, and right now that's what he's doing. But trying to hold off a charging Robert Hartley and Jonathan White, and I'm saying that 22 car is my pick to win here if Hartley and Alessandrini get together.
You really like that Jonathan White car, and it's hard to argue with that. I mean, he's fast. He's up there. He's right with them. The two fastest guys of the night. Chris Henn right there in 4th place, kind of in the Paul Darling situation in the first race, and he's just kind of watching, and 5th place, not too far behind him.
I'm telling you, that 22, again, relatively new to the front of the field here, and he's just got so much pace at this specific racetrack. I just think he's going to be one to watch, and he is from New York State. I thought this would have been his home track with how he's been running tonight, but that's not the case. Front 3 completely grouped up. We just saw Samuel Scott on pit road at the number 98 fixing some damage. Looks like Steve.
This has been an all-around crazier race than race number 1 in terms of penalties, in terms of damage and all that. So, kind of a thrill to watch.
Absolutely, and it's probably been one of the messier ones that we've seen this season, which honestly surprised me because I walked into tonight thinking that especially with the small field size, that we would see a lot calmer action. Not the case this evening.
Samuel
Crossover.
Scott has also disconnected, so that's the end of his night.
So a lot of DNFs. I think we're up to 4 and 5 DNFs if you include Steve Picacci. Chris Henn took a dive to Jonathan White, couldn't complete the pass though, so he'll retain 4th for now.
I thought he was going to put the bumper to him, not even intentionally. I thought it was just going to be the cause there and maybe get Jonathan White a little bit loose, but he kind of holds off and builds up a 2-car length advantage over Chris Henn.
Climbing the hill towards turn 2, DJ Alessandrini continues to lead. He's led every single lap of this race so far. And Hartley is just waiting in the wings. I think Hartley's strategizing right now. It's a chess game at 100 miles an hour. He's got this all planned out. The problem is that plan can be foiled by the 22 or the 33 following him close behind. So he can't make his own decisions. He's got to also count on the decisions of Chris Henn and Jonathan White behind him, maybe screwing up the plan.
DJ Alessandrini has led most, if not all, of this race so far, so he'll be having a big smile on his face right now as we come up under 11 minutes to go.
And I think he was having a blast after almost winning race number 1, and if he were to win race number 2, I'm sure he'd be smiling on that helmet for sure. Whoa, a little bit of a dog and weave on the back straight trying to break the draft, but now Hartley and White get back in line.
I hope he's wearing his helmet right now.
It's got Good Luck Jarrett sweat on it from this weekend.
Oh yeah, he's definitely, like I said, biggest, nicest thing anyone's ever done for me. Let me use this helmet so I could ride in the SPEC Miata. Best moment of my life. While we were having this intriguing conversation, Steve Picacci and Thomas Bresci have also disconnected, so add 2 more to the DNF list.
Wow, so yeah, that's so 16th through 21st have all disconnected and are out of this race, which is, I think, one of the biggest DNF lists we've had of the season, which is unexpected to say the least.
Chris Henn again, so close to the back bumper there of Jonathan White as they head out of turn 11.
Yeah, they're closing up so close. That accordion effect that we always see in braking zones gets these drivers so close together, and it's just, they're so skilled that they can do that, but one little mistake could mean that they could all wind up spinning each other out, so they have to be careful. About 9 minutes and 45 seconds remaining, lap number 12 of roughly 17. The top 3 all over each other. Chris Henn waiting in the wings in case they get together.
Tell ya, DJ's back bumper is just so close right there to Robert Hartley. It's a very intriguing battle here as they come down the hill.
And oh wow, the 2 cream-colored cars both off track behind DJ, trying to keep up with them. They both ran out wide, and I think some of that's visibility. You're following DJ and Hartley so close, you can't really see what's going on in front of you. Remember, this roof cam is mounted about 2 feet above the driver's helmet, so very difficult for the driver to see where he's going.
Second and third place have built up a little bit of an advantage on Chris Henn as he's about 4 or 5 car lengths behind Jonathan White.
Onto the brakes into turn 7, one of our passing opportunities, but no one's used this yet, at least in this front group. No one's used this to pass. But this is where something like Paradigm Shift can help you at a racetrack like Sonoma, because we say 2 passing opportunities, but really Paradigm Shift might tell you that there's a heck of a lot more than that. I think any race car driver will tell you that passing opportunity is anywhere where you can physically pass a car, which is basically everywhere. I think there's better places than others, but I think if you check out Paradigm Shift's website, they give you some tips and tricks, and I'm sure Sonoma Raceway is on there as well if you want to take a look at maybe getting the best information that you can get available on that situation. How about Chris Henn to the inside of Jonathan White? Couldn't complete the pass.
Unable to put the power down there. It's similar to how the race 1 ended for him. Coming out of turn 11, just was not able to keep the car straight and in control there, and he got loose and was unable to advance his position there on Jonathan White.
The top two have kind of begun to separate themselves out a little bit, but that mistake, I guess that failed pass attempt by the 33. But White's trying to close that gap back up. If they let Hartley and Alessandrini draft away, they won't have any opportunity to get back. So about 5 laps to go here at Sonoma, 7 minutes and 40 seconds remaining.
And you gotta wonder if we'll see the same that we saw in race number 1 with just different characters, them flipped around a little bit. If we see Hartley try to make a move on Alessandrini in 11, it'll be very, very similar to what happened in race 1 with Alessandrini on Hartley.
Well, I think the distinct advantage is for DJ Alessandrini because he knows what did and won't work. So I think he can defend against that move if Hartley tries to play it out. But he knows that his move didn't end up panning out, so he probably won't try that again if he's in that same situation. And Hartley probably learned from that as well. So drivers are constantly taking in streams of information and trying to figure out how best to apply it to really have the best opportunity they have at winning the race. Ooh, Hartley jumped the curb big time there. Got the car almost airborne. We talked earlier about how you want to have all 4 tires on the ground if possible, except there's so much speed to be had when you can jump the curbs just right.
Yeah, a good rule of thumb is to keep all 4 tires on the ground, especially when you're driving a race car at speed. So
and
drivers
also
will look to do that.
Another good rule of thumb is to keep the tires on pavement, which these guys have done with varying degrees of success. How about, Hartley tried to get to the inside of Alessandrini, had an overlap for a second, but tucks back in behind.
The weather has been very moody here, and going to the turn number 11, I was about to say, cloud coverage, cooler racetrack, and then right when they're coming across the finish line, all of a sudden it brightens up again and the track heats up. So we'll see how that plays a factor here in the final 6 minutes of this race.
The track is as hot as we've seen it tonight, 100 degrees Fahrenheit. It's actually come up, but now it drops right back down as the clouds come over the speedway. Through turns 3 and 4, you see the guys sliding around a little bit. That's probably hot tires combined with the warmer racetrack surface. They're not getting quite as much bite out of those Yokohama tires.
You can see the rubber being laid down in the groove. That will help them out.
Especially in the braking zones, you'll see that dark rubber begin to form a racing line. These races are relatively short, but it still matters. And Jonathan White missed corner exit. He runs out way wide on the exit at turn 5.
Doesn't actually lose too much time there. He's still in a grabbing distance of Robert Hartley and DJ Alessandrini.
They turn 7 now.
Beautiful corner there he did. He was able to gain back all the time he lost as he perfectly apexed that one.
Coming back with what will be 3 laps to go now. They jump the curbs through the S's, and these guys have been so orderly up front this time through. Let's jump on quickly back to Michael Borden and Luke Pfeiffer, the 06 and 42. These guys were orderly, but now they were side by side coming out of turn 7. And this battle might be over, but Pfeiffer, a great run in that number 06.
Yeah, great day for Pfeiffer. He'll be really pleased with this performance if all holds up.
Leaders get all accordion back together, coming to 3 laps to go, 4.5 minutes remaining. Alessandrini's led the majority of the laps in this race. And he was oh so short, 0.2 of a second back in race 1, and has an opportunity to win it if he can hold off Hartley, race 1 winner.
Kind of got to wonder how aggressive Hartley's going to want to be here. Of course, he won race 1 and he was able to get the points advantage there a little bit on DJ Alessandrini, even more so with the penalty points that DJ Alessandrini will have to face. So we'll see if he really wants to get this win to try to close the gap even more, if he's happy running second.
Borden closed back up on Pfeiffer through turn 2. I don't think this battle's quite over yet for 6th. You can hear the tires working. So coming back to what will be 2 laps to go here in just a moment. You see Robert Hartley getting closer and closer to Alessandrini. Jarrett, where do you make your move? Do you wait to turn 11, or do you try to make it on turn 7 and then get defensive? Well, I say that now, and here comes Hartley to the inside. He'll wait. DJ gives him the room, though.
Yeah, if I was this good at sim racing, I wouldn't know what to do with myself. So if I were me, the average sim racer that I am, I would wait till turn 11. That seems to be the danger, the excitement corner, you know, where we saw the race 1 madness, and we see a lot of real life passes and moments happen in turn 11. So if that's me, that's where I wait for it. But, you know, the hole just almost opened up for Hartley there. So if that happens again, I'm sure he can take the opportunity.
The hole opened for Hartley, but part of me thinks that he didn't go for it on purpose, just waiting to set up the 91. But how about Jonathan White? He's got a ton of pressure from Chris Henn, and Chris Henn has to start making moves, and here goes to the inside, 3 wide underneath Hartley. A great move for the lead, or for second place rather, but he gets split middle, 3 wide on exit, and Hartley goes from second to fourth in one corner.
I do not think Hartley will be too pleased about that move from Chris Henn. I mean, I don't blame Chris. He had to do that, but that was sort of a kamikaze move, and that shuffled everything up. Now Jonathan White's in second. Alessandrini is pulling away from this group.
Yeah, Alessandrini just was given the gift of position. 0.8 of a second now. These guys are all ticked at each other after what just happened. Let's go back and take a look at the replay. And sorry for calling out, I thought it was the lead there for a moment at how close it got, but the 33 just went for a Hail Mary down in the hairpin and wasn't able to make it stick. And they ended up going... Oh man, that was just an awkward moment for everybody involved.
You know, like I said, I don't blame Chris Henn for that. You know, he had to try something, and at the end of the day, he's back where he started, 4th place. So, you know, you gotta be, fortune favors the bold. You know, so really daring attempt there by Chris.
Jonathan White is now in the catbird seat. DJ Alessandrini leads this race by 0.7 of a second, but the slipstream is going to be slightly effective here. Not as effective as he wants it to be, but we're going to come back to the white flag, 1 lap to go next time through. And that 22 of Jonathan White is under pressure from Robert Hartley from behind, as well as trying to catch DJ Alessandrini. Chris Henn, probably a bit too far back to be a factor right now.
Speaking of Chris Henn, the stewards have given a warning to him for his... little dive Hail Mary that you called it in turn 11 there on the last lap.
And that's you don't want to get a warning coming up to the white flag, because that's when you want to use that Hail Mary that I talked about. Yeah, you don't want to get a penalty on the last lap either. So 0.7 is the gap between the leader DJ Alessandrini and Jonathan White. And through turn 11 now for the second to last time, 1 minute remaining in this race, and the white flag is waving. 1 more lap around Sonoma Raceway in race number 2 in round 5 of the 2019 SPEC MX-5 SimRacing Challenge. Can anyone launch a challenge? It's all DJ right now for that top spot.
You know, White doesn't have to necessarily be on DJ's number for the entire lap, but he does have to close that gap by turn 11 if he hopes to make a move in that danger corner.
I think Robert Hartley is going to be focusing on helping this 22 on the back straight. If they fight, there's no chance to catch DJ. Through turn 2, they close the gap slightly, but I don't think it's going to be enough. I think Jonathan's really going to have to set up the carousel just right, and that's been a weak spot for him so far tonight.
DJ is definitely in the catbird seat right now as he is leading as they're coming around final corners here, final lap rather, in the second race here at Sonoma.
The time expires. This is officially the last lap of the race, down into the carousel. This is where Jonathan White's been struggling to get the car turned in, but a great corner executed there. Does he have enough of a run? Half a second separates him and DJ Alessandrini. He needs to close this up as much as possible. This is the first of 2 passing opportunities. He goes defensive. Hartley looks to the outside. Does Hartley go all the way around? He's going to force the 22 to the inside, and this could give DJ Alessandrini the win if they fight for too much longer.
And DJ Alessandrini, that's the one thing he wants to see in his rearview mirror is them fighting for position for second and third so he can pull away and get the win here in race number 2.
That might have been all it took. DJ gained all those tenths back that he had lost through the middle sector. Alessandrini, he was second in race 1 after almost grabbing the win, but Jonathan White is not going to have enough to get to him, but can he defend from a charging Robert Hartley? He's going to have to go defensive. Hartley hits him in the rear bumper to the outside down into turn 11. Side by side, the 22, the 03 into turn 11. Door to door, here comes Chris Henn. It's a mirror of the last race, but for DJ Alessandrini, it's going to be victory, but battle behind him. Who's it going to be for a second? Jonathan White on the outside. The 03 of Hartley on the inside. Hartley's going to get it by a nose at the line. Wow. And how about this? Here comes the 55 of Darling to the inside of Jack Sanchez. Sanchez overdrives into the corner. Paul Darling crosses over to the inside. Here comes the 02 of John D. Allen. He gets the spot. And now Zenoa Wilson. And how about Dakota Dickerson trying to throw his hat in the ring here at the end as well to the checkered flag. Wilson and Dickerson side by side for a moment. But Zenoa Wilson gets that top 10 spot. Or 11th, excuse me. John D. Allen scored with second in a collision at the line. Or scored with 9th, rather. Jack Sanchez stole 10th place, but what another finish These guys have been putting on a show tonight, haven't they?
Yeah, it was 1-2 in the first race with Robert Hartley and DJ Alessandrini in second. In the second race, it was DJ Alessandrini 1 and Robert Hartley 2. Really incredible both races were, and great drives by both those drivers.
I want to go back to the last moments of this race. I want to ride on board with Robert Hartley as he heads into turn 10 here behind Jonathan White. No chance for the victory, but he had one opportunity to get by the 22. He gets off the corner with a big run and was going to look to the inside, but at the last second drills the 22 in the rear bumper, and then swings around to the outside. And that's the move that worked for him in race 1, and it worked for him again in race 2. He comes across the line in second place. Another thing I wanted to go over, though, was that incident on lap number 1, the multiple incidents that we kind of missed there. So let's go back and take a look at the lap 1 collisions. And I believe the first one is going to be with Jesse Stevens. Here's a look. He goes up the inside of the 51 of Fikachi. And Stevens gets a heck of a run up the outside. And he's, oh, there was already contact up the road. And Stevens just sails it up the inside. Yeah, he doesn't have corner rights to me. So the 13 definitely started that one there. And then we see more collisions up the road. John D. Allen gets a piece of it, but just kind of a mess there on that first couple corners.
Yeah, both races were crazy, but both for their own reasons. Race 1 was crazy because of how close it was, and the finish, of course. Whereas race 2 was crazy for how many DNFs we had. What was it, 6?
It was a lot. I'll give you that. How about Brian Cheney in the number 05? Snuck his way through all this mess. Here's his view from the back. And just slow and patient up to the top of the hill. And zips around the outside and then shoots the middle here as the 51 swerves back across the racetrack. Well done by Brian Cheney. Okay, here's a look at your race results. Along the top of the screen, DJ Alessandrini wins another one here and will extend his points lead over Robert Hartley in race 2. Jonathan White in 3rd, Chris Henn in 4th, Nathan Saxon back inside the top 5. Luke Pfeiffer with a solid 6th place finish. Borden, Darling, John D. Allen, Jack Sanchez rounding out your top 10. Then Zenoa Wilson, Dakota Dickerson, Mark Snodgrass, Brian Cheney, Brian Shabelsky, and then Bressie, Scott, Fikachi, DeCousier, Stevens, and Peak all DNF'd out of this race. What a night! That was a crazy race.
Yeah, both races were really crazy. Like I said, for their own reasons.
All right, we're going to jump to break momentarily. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back in literally about a minute and a half here. We're just going to grab a couple people to talk to. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
All right.
Welcome back live to Winding Road Magazine and Sim TV. Here now with race winner DJ Alessandrini. DJ, well, a crazy weekend at Grid Life and then a crazy weeknight here in the SPEC MX-5 SimRacing Challenge. A race 1, a last-minute dive to the inside. Didn't quite work, but in race 2, you dominated and won by about a second over Robert Hartley. Walk us through your night as a whole, and that race 1 moved down in turn 11. That was spectacular to watch.
I didn't think that was too spectacular. I was trying to get it in the second, and I realized if I let the clutch out, the engine was going to pop because these things are fragile. And my feet got a little confused, and I bumped into Hartley. So I already apologized to Hartley, but I'll apologize on stream as well. I didn't mean to rub fenders with you. I wouldn't want to win a race like that, and I'm glad that the results still went exactly how they would have been if I didn't mess up. But race 2, it's been a little while since I've won a race, and I felt something brewing inside to go win that race, and that's probably one of my best drives ever in real life or in iRacing. I was just focused in. I was so focused that when the race ended, I was confused. I missed the white flag.
DJ, we talked over the weekend about the point system and how this all works out, but as we head to the end of the season, we're about halfway through, just under halfway through at the moment. You've got basically a race lead over everyone else at the moment. So are you just, I mean, we know that the last race is basically winner take all. So is it just collecting race wins now, or are you still kind of in the back of your mind thinking about points?
Anything can happen. I can get spun. Like Jesse got really unlucky on race 1. Netcode just kind of ended his night. So, eventually that kind of stuff's going to happen to me. So I have to keep that point advantage as long as I can. So when I go into that final race, I have those two bonus points. Because if I have those 2 bonus points, it means I don't have to win both races for the final round to win the prize. So I'd like it where it was a points tally at the end, but obviously that benefits me. So I'm a tad biased. I think my strength is consistency and keeping the car safe. As far as outright pace, like Busa, Jesse, and Hartley, I think they have me on outright pace, especially in qualifying. Those guys are just so dang fast.
We head to Mid-Ohio for the next round. I know you were just there a little while ago for the Grid Life Touring Cup. Did you learn anything there that you can apply to the sim with this rear-wheel drive Miata, or is it too different to extract anything useful?
Yeah, actually, I did learn a lot driving on that track, and I'm not gonna share it.
All right. Well, every magician keeps his secret secret, DJ. But thanks for talking to us, DJ. I know it's been a while since you've picked up a checkered flag, but race 2 tonight, you won it by a bunch, and congratulations.
Thanks, guys. Always appreciated.
All right. Have a great night, DJ. We'll talk to you next round.
All right, later.
All right, we'll talk to Robert Hartley next, who won race number 1 here. Robert, kind of an exciting finish to race number 1, getting a dive bombed up the inside by DJ Alessandrini. Some contact there. Dramatic finish, but you pulled it out by 0.2 of a second. And then in race 2, just following that Blue 91, the whole race. Walk us through your night. I know it was pretty interesting from your point of view.
Yeah, that race 1 finish was crazy. It was awesome. Race 2, I was just trying to follow DJ. He was running as good as you can run. I couldn't get close enough coming into the hairpins to make a move. So I was just trying to let the tires come to me, and then with a few laps to go, got dive bombed again. I don't know what happened back there, but it was kind of crazy. And was just able to get second back coming around the outside of the last corner there.
As we look forward to the rest of the season here, we're closing in on halfway through, and so far you've been kind of following that 91 around quite a bit. You're second to him in the point standings. Is it all about collecting race wins, or are you just fighting with him on the track for points at the moment? What's their strategy here going forward?
I'm just trying to run consistent, stay up toward the front, make sure I have a shot at that last race. DJ's run almost a perfect season so far, and he's definitely got the points advantage, but it's anybody's game in that last race.
Looking ahead to Mid-Ohio, is that a track that you think you'll be strong at, or is that one that you're potentially a bit worried about?
I think I'll be strong there. Same as with these other guys. Every week they'll all be strong there. So it'll be another exciting race.
Absolutely. A great show put on tonight. Thanks, Robert, for being a part of it. Thanks for talking to us again, and good luck at Mid-Ohio.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Absolutely. I guess now we'll talk to Chris Henn, who drove the number 33 tonight. Chris, that race number 1, he's gone. Where'd he go? Come back. Hey, you got a copy?
Yes, I'm with you.
I got you. Okay, well, race number 1, a dive by DJ Alessandrini gave you an opportunity to steal a race win away. I know after the heartbreak at Laguna Seca, you wanted one real bad, but a little bit too short, a little bit too little too late there. But race 2, another 4th place finish. What'd you need to get yourself up there into victory lane?
Well, those guys were really fast, and I was really just waiting for the opportunity in race 1, and I got the opportunity in the last turn. Because I knew Rob was going to make a move. So, and once you go too wide, you slow down so much. So I just like bombed it in there, and went for it. And I got into DJ, but it was pretty cool. 3 wide to the finish. That was a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Then, of course, race number 2, there was some great battling there with you and Jonathan White. Walk us through that battle in race number 2 and how you're setting yourself up. We saw you get really aggressive with a couple laps to go. Did you know you were a bit too far back and needed to climb up the order to get a chance at DJ?
Well, yeah, Kyle, I definitely needed to get up there. I had a good run on Jonathan, and I made a move, and I definitely had him beat into the final corner, and I just broke way too late, and I was just really scared I was going to take everyone out, but it worked out. I think everyone was mirror driving, so they saw me coming, and I got into Rob, messed him up a little bit, but he ended up back in second, but ruined his chances for the win, so I felt bad about that. But I had to do something. I knew it was getting towards the end.
Heading forward to Mid-Ohio in a couple weeks here, is that a track that is probably one of your strengths, or is that one that you're a little bit worried about? Because obviously it's a very different racetrack than Sonoma and pretty technical. So you feel like you'll be run strong there, or are you a bit concerned about that one?
No, I'm really excited about Mid-Ohio, that's for sure. I love that track, and I feel like I'll be definitely top 5 in speed, so looking forward to another good race.
All right, well, thanks, Chris Henn, for talking to us, and good luck at Mid-Ohio.
Thank you, Kyle.
All right, well, last driver we'll talk to tonight is going to be Jonathan White, who drove the number 22 here tonight. Jonathan, great result in race 2, especially some great battles he had there with Chris Henn. Just walk us through your race 1 and your race 2 from your perspective. I know you were up there kind of fighting most of the time with the leaders in the second race.
Thanks. Well, first race didn't go so well because Jesse T. Stevens had an incident where I think his netcode just went bonkers. So he got spun out by DJ, like 5 feet away somehow. And then I got involved in the aftermath of that with Michael. So although I had no cosmetic damage, my suspension was just out of whack. And unfortunately, I couldn't continue the race because it was too risky. I could have accidentally taken someone else out. But as for race 2, I started well. Qualified 5th, not a bad result. And then first half of the race, I was trying to stay with the pack. I wasn't trying to take position of Chris early on because that would have been a mistake. You want to keep with the leaders as much as you can. And then once you made a mistake, I passed him. And then the rest of the race was just me waiting for Robert to make a move, and then for me to make a move on top of that.
When you're following a guy like Robert Hartley, waiting for him to make that move, do you ever get impatient, especially coming up to the white flag? Was there a concern that you wouldn't have an opportunity and that you had to make your own luck, or were you just kind of trusting Robert to make that move?
I was getting a bit impatient towards, I think, the last 5 laps, but I wasn't trying to be too aggressive. It was better to be patient. So I guess if it was the white flag and he was still in front of me, I might have tried and done something. But for the most part, I guess I was pretty relaxed because I wanted a decent result instead of crashing out.
All right, well, Jonathan White, a 3rd place, a podium in race number 2. Well done there. By 43 thousandths of a second, Robert Hartley stole that 2nd place away. So awful close, but great run there in race 2.
Yeah, thank you. Have a nice day.
You too. All right, Jared, that's going to wrap up the interviews tonight. What a race, run and race 2 that we saw tonight. Very competitive, especially that finish in race number 1. Spectacular racing all around, but Mid-Ohio here in a couple weeks, Jarrett, that's going to be a completely different kind of racetrack than we've seen so far. Very, very technical, and a couple, a lot less passing opportunities. So that's going to be an interesting one here in a couple weeks. But thoughts heading out of Sonoma?
Just what an incredible day of racing it was. Started off race 1. Top 4 or 5 were very close, very tight racing, and it was all very clean except for the first 2 laps, whereas now in race number 2 we had 6 DNFs, 3 penalties given out, and at the end it was still a really close, incredible finish with Chris Henn doing that dive bomb he did move with 2 laps to go, whatever it was. So it was really incredible day of racing, couldn't ask for better, and now we just can't wait till Mid-Ohio.
All right, Mid-Ohio will be, I think there's some debate about moving it up to avoid clashing with the 4th of July holiday, so that schedule that is in the video description may be off by a week, but keep an eye out rather, for when the link on the Winding Road Magazine channel goes live. It should be on the 26th of June. But we want to thank again our sponsors, LevelUp Racing School, WeatherTech, Winding Road Racing, and Paradigm Shift for coming on board to help sponsor these events. And thank you to Winding Road Magazine for allowing us use of their YouTube channel. Again, I'm Kyle Heyer alongside Jarrett Mackey from SimTV. Check out our links in the video description, and we appreciate your time. We appreciate watching and being here with us. We'll see you at Mid-Ohio on the 26th. Thanks for watching. We'll see you later.